Do I have a motion to return to open session?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Robertson, Dr. Gitry? Any discussion? Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond,
Yes.
Franklin, Dr. Gitry,
Yes.
Ms. Pardon,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell.
Yes.
7 in favor.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to certify closed session that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Roberts and Dr. Roundtree, any discussion? Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Dr. Gitry,
Yes.
Ms. Pardon,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell.
Yes.
7 in favor.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to readmit student A?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Bond and Mr. Roberts, any discussion? Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Dr. Gitry,
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Ms. Pardon,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell.
Yes.
6 in favor.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to return student B to school?
So moved.
Dr. Roundtree and Ms. Franklin, any discussion? Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Dr. Gitry,
Yes.
Ms. Pardon,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell.
Yes.
7 in favor.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to exempt application 1 from compulsory attendance due to religious exemption in Montgomery County Public Schools?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Parton and Ms. Bond, any discussion? Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
No.
Dr. Gitry,
Abstain.
Ms. Pardon,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree,
No.
Ms. Purcell.
Yes.
4 in favor, 2 opposed.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report removing candidate A as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Roberts and Dr. Roundtree, any discussion? Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin. No. Dr. Gitry,
Abstain.
Ms. Pardon,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell.
Yes.
5 in favor, 1 opposed.
Motion carries. Great, thank you all for letting us take care of some of those closed session items. Next, we have the Auburn Middle School and Christiansburg Middle School guitar students with us tonight to perform the national anthem with director Joey Ballard. Thank you so much, students and families, for coming out and playing for us tonight. Our student representative tonight is Olivia McNulty from Blacksburg High School. Olivia, will you please read our mission and belief statement?
Of course. Okay. Of course, thank you. MCPS is an innovative educational community. We value diversity and we are committed to equity and inclusion. MCPS empowers learners to realize success in an ever-changing global society through collaboration with communities, families, staff, and students. MCPS provides a safe, engaging learning environment and intentional exposure to positive social, emotional, and academic experiences. Our beliefs are all students can learn in order to pursue their dreams. Schools are a safe place of joy, wonder, and creativity. Every person deserves to be loved, valued, and respected. Kindness is an essential skill of a responsible, productive community member. The diversity of our community is one of our greatest strengths. All people deserve equitable access to opportunities and resources. Every child deserves an advocate. Honoring the voices of students and other stakeholders strengthens the school community. Open communication and feedback are vital to our growth. Learning and teaching are collective efforts that begin at birth and involve the entire community. And finally, relationship building and high expectations are foundational to student success.
Thank you so much, Olivia. Our next item of business are student representative reports. Olivia, do you have a report from Blacksburg High School?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Blacksburg High School continues to demonstrate excellence both inside and outside the classroom, and we are incredibly proud of our students for their hard work, determination, and commitment to achieving those goals. From academic accomplishments to school-wide events, students have shown dedication, school spirit, and willingness to be involved in their community. The Blacksburg High School MAC team achieved an impressive victory by winning the 2026 Eastern Division Championship. The team excelled across multiple academic categories, with each team category enjoying a trophy, which included all-round English, math, and science. This accomplishment highlights with the dedication, teamwork, and academic excellence of the students involved, as well as the strong support from their coaches and peers. Just before spring break, students gathered at the Bill Brown Stadium for the Spring Sports Pep Rally, which brought energy and excitement to the campus. The event featured a variety of games and activities for both students and teachers, which included competition between opposing classes and a teacher versus students tug-of-war. The junior class stood out during the event, dominating several of the games and showing strong school spirit throughout the rally. Blacksburg High School's prom-themed Sunset in the Countryside is scheduled for April 18th from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Following prom, students can attend the after-prom celebration at Blacksburg Middle School. This event will be a safe, alcohol-free, tobacco, vape-free, and drug-free environment, provided at no cost to all juniors and seniors who have purchased a prom ticket, along with their dates. We have reminded our students about the Cinderella and Prince Charming Boutique through the VT YMCA, which offers free or low-cost formal wear to high school students. The boutique provides dresses, suits, shoes, and accessories in a variety of styles and sizes, helping remove financial barriers that might prevent students from attending formal events. All students, regardless of budget, are encouraged to take advantage of this opportunity to feel confident and prepared for prom. Thank you. I also have Auburn High School's report if you'd like me to read it.
Thank you so much, Olivia. Sadly, Laura Altizer wasn't able to join us tonight, but I'm glad that she sent her report along, and thanks for reading it for her.
Good evening. The school year is almost over and Auburn is very excited to close another year off successfully. Auburn students will be participating in the biomechanics field trip tomorrow at Virginia Tech. The students will tour college labs and facilities all day, as well as participate in several labs on site. The field trip will cover fields involving biomechanics, biomimetics, and robotics. Although band season is over, our band team is still doing very exciting things. Our band will take a trip up to Dollywood on April 17th to perform at the park, after which members will be released to enjoy Dollywood for the rest of the day. Prom is May 9th this year, and our students are very excited for it. Tickets have been on sale since March and will continue to be available up until prom itself. While no theme is decided yet, Auburn is very excited for this year's dance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olivia. Next, we'll move on to our honors, awards, and recognitions. First, we will have our seniors of the month. Dr. Lori Comer, Director of Secondary Education, will start our presentation for seniors of the month.
Good evening, Chair Purcell, school board members, Dr. Gimple, and student representatives. We're proud to celebrate our remarkable achievements of our outstanding seniors for April. These students, of course, have embodied leadership and dedication, making a lasting impact. Their profiles, please stop by and visit them. They're out in the lobby here on the government side and in our central office lobby. You're going to hear tonight some reflections from their teachers and their administrators. These exceptional students are the best of our schools, supported by the encouragement of their families and their educators. We will ask the principals to come forward. Mr. Hurd from Auburn High, Mr. Stewart from Blacksburg, Mr. Gwynn from Christiansburg, and Mr. Todd Lewis from Eastern Montgomery High School.
Evening. The April Senior of the Month for Auburn High School is Natalie Hicks. If I could ask Natalie and her family to join me. Natalie has been among our top students academically for the duration of her time at Auburn High School. She served as an officer in many clubs, has achieved awards for excellent academic achievement, and has worked for the betterment of her community in many ways. Natalie will graduate from Auburn High School with an associate's degree and will be pharmacy technician certified with many big goals to follow. A faculty member said of her, Natalie is an incredibly strong student, evident in her academic achievements, her extracurricular activities, the leadership she demonstrates, her drive to pursue her goals, the initiative she takes, her care and compassion for others, and her ability to balance everything she does with grace and intention. Natalie's thirst for knowledge and desire to take advantage of every opportunity for experience in her field of interest have demonstrated her passion to achieve her goals. Given Natalie's incredible desire to continue becoming the best version of herself possible and her fierce focus on continuing this growth into her post-secondary studies and career, I have no doubt that she will bring life experience with a natural capability of leadership, which will enable her to be a success and an inspiration. Natalie ships out for basic training in the Army National Guard upon graduation and plans to become a combat medic. She then plans to pursue neuroscience at Virginia Tech's College of Science this fall with goals of becoming a pediatric neurologist. Congratulations, Natalie.
Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Gimple. It is my pleasure to present the Blacksburg High School Senior of the Month. This evening, I'd like to recognize Tess Dickens as the April Senior of the Month. Tess is here this evening with her family. I'd like to invite them to come up and join me as I read a brief statement from one of Tess's teachers. Tess exemplifies what it means to be a scholar, student athlete, leader, and role model at Blacksburg High School. As an AP/DE Calculus AB student, she demonstrated outstanding perseverance and intellectual curiosity, earning a 5 on the AP exam through disciplined study and reflective problem solving. Her growth into a confident problem solver has made her a trusted peer resource within one of the school's most rigorous academic environments. Beyond the classroom, Tess leads with a purpose as a member of the cross-country, indoor track, and outdoor track teams. She is also president of the STEMinist Club, where she fosters inclusivity through guest speakers and community events. Her leadership is grounded in empathy and maturity, qualities she consistently displays while balancing excellence in her sports and rigorous academics. Tess embodies integrity and a genuine love of learning, making her truly deserving of being named Blacksburg High School Senior of the Month. Congratulations, Tess.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Gimple, and our student rep. It is my pleasure to introduce the April Senior of the Month for Christiansburg High School as Miss Piper Shamliss. Could Piper and her family please come forward at this time? When asking some of Piper's teachers and coaches to describe Piper, they said, "Piper is distinguished by a rare blend of academic brilliance and profound character. She is set to graduate with both her high school diploma and an associate's degree, all while also completing requirements for her CNA license. Beyond the classroom, Piper is a versatile leader, being a member of the CHS state champion softball team, a 3-time all-region competition cheerleader, and the president of Morgan's Message. Her teacher in the nurse aid program praised her for her unwavering professionalism, noting that she approaches every patient with genuine empathy and a commitment to quality care. In rigorous courses like AP Government, she stands out for her critical thinking and her ability to support complex opinions with thorough research. What truly sets Piper apart, however, is her quiet confidence and the integrity she brings to every challenge. She is known for meeting obstacles head-on with grace and a trademark "I got this" attitude that inspires her peers and coaches alike. Whether she is volunteering in the community or leading her classmates, she does so with a humility that never seeks the spotlight. Her unique sense of humor and ability to find positives in heavy situations make her a grounding force within the student body. Piper is a true representation of the core values of CHS. Piper plans to attend Virginia Tech this fall to major in biological science with a biomedical concentration. Congratulations, Piper.
Good evening, members of the school board and Dr. Gimple. It's an honor to be here this evening to recognize the Eastern Montgomery High School Senior of the Month, Allison Blevins. Allison is here with her family tonight, and I ask that they come forward at this time. One of Allison's teachers, Mark Eaton, wrote the following, highlighting Allison's qualifications for this honor. Whether Allison Blevins is building projects in robotics and manufacturing or creating artwork in drawing class, she enjoys making and designing. She values MAC and Scholastic Bowl because they allow her to expand her knowledge alongside her classmates, and she appreciates Beta and SCA for the opportunity to serve and support other students. For Allison, FBLA and EMHS Hiking Club, of which she's a founding member, are both fun and educational experiences. In fact, everything that she's been involved in throughout her high school career shows that she is committed to leadership, learning, and service. After graduation, Allison plans to attend Radford University, where she will major in media studies. She hopes to become a journalist so that she can share meaningful stories with communities and help keep them informed. Congratulations, Allison, on this well-deserved recognition.
Next, we'd like to recognize our VHSL Winter 2025-2026 state champions. Dr. Lori Comer, Director of Secondary Education, will start our recognitions for these winter season champions.
Good evening again. It is my honor to present to you the Winter 25-26 Virginia High School League State Championship teams. In addition to our athletic teams for the VHSL, this year we have a VHSL Scholastic Bowl winner to recognize also. Each principal will come forward and recognize the championship coaches and team members. We'll start with Mr. Hurd, followed by Mr. Stewart, Mr. Gwynn, and Mr. Lewis.
If all members of the Auburn boys and girls track team could join me, and coaches. Auburn had 7 individual state champions and 2 teams from the winter season. The individual state champions in the girls 4x8 relay, 4x800 relay, the relay team of Charlie Songer, Beverly Warner, Autumn Rohr, and Allison Funk ran away with the race, winning by 29 seconds over the second place team. In the boys 4x400 relay, even though the meet was already won, the team of Bryce Brunk, Brody Dillon, Easton Dobbins, and James King ran an inspired race to top off the meet with their championship performance. In the boys 55-meter hurdles, sophomore Isaiah Heyman easily won the finals of the 55 hurdles, easing up before the finish once he had won the race. The boys long jump, sophomore Ethan Brunk edged out his competition in winning the long jump by 1 inch. In the boys high jump, Gideon Meyer easily won the high jump with a leap of 6 foot 6 inches. His jump broke the meet record that was just set by Drew Royal from Auburn last year. In the girls shot put, Allison Harris won the girls shot put by just a half an inch over her opponent, but became state champion. In the boys shot put, Kobe Bonds left absolutely no doubt as to who the best shot putter in Class 1, and it's in the state of Virginia for that matter, winning by almost 11 feet. His throw was over 60 feet and was the longest of any shot putter in any class in the state. I think he has a personal record of 64 feet or so. Team state champions. The girls indoor track and field team, in the second year of Class 1 indoor track and field, Auburn successfully defended their title with a 21-point victory over Brunswick High School. Riding a 46-point effort from the distance group, the team put together the points necessary for the win. The boys indoor track and field team left little doubt from the outset that they were going to win the Class 1 championship. When the dust had settled after winning 5 of the 14 events outright, the Eagles totaled 132 points, the highest total for boys or girls team in any classification since 2015. Their margin of victory was 77 points. Congratulations to the Auburn indoor track and field teams.
All right, Blacksburg High School had several individuals and one team that won in the winter season of VHSL Athletics. I'd like to invite any wrestlers that we were recognizing, swim and dive student athletes, and girls indoor track student athletes. Come on up. First, I'd like to start with individuals. First in wrestling, Dakota Parker at 106 pounds. Dakota went 21-4 this year as a sophomore. Dakota took first in the region tournament and then carried it into first place finish at the state tournament. Swim and dive, congratulations to Leah Brown, who was the state champion in girls diving. Jillian Wiersma won the 500 freestyle at the state, and she qualified for All-American consideration. She is also verbally committed to swim at Virginia Tech. Congratulations to Soren Anderson for winning the state diving championship for the boys' side. He plans to attend Virginia Tech in the fall. Cameron Roy won the 200 freestyle and qualified for All-American consideration. He's still undecided about college. On the girls indoor track side, individual winners. First, the 4x8 girls relay, which consisted of Penny Griggs, Lola Olson, Harper Olson, and Tess Dickens. The women 4x8 relay broke the state meet record, which has stood for over a decade. The women's 4x4 relay also won with Lily Ballou, Lena Tyhurst, Karis Kruskus, and Tess Dickens. Tess Dickens is the only senior on these relays and is committed to run cross country at track at Appalachian State University. And then finally, the team, girls indoor track team, were state champions for the second year in a row. This makes 6 straight state championships for the girls team. They've won the 2024 outdoor track, 2024 cross country, 2025 indoor track, 2025 outdoor track, 2025 cross country, and now 2026 indoor track. Congratulations. I'd like to take just a moment to recognize our Scholastic Bowl for the academic side of the VHSL. If there's any members of the Scholastic Bowl team or any of our coaches who might be here tonight. Just real briefly, the Scholastic Bowl secured a three-peat and has now won the last 3 state championships in Scholastic Bowl. And some of our members are actually headed to Richmond in the next 2 weeks to compete and battle for the brains. They are in the Final 4 with a chance to win it all in late April. Thank you.
At this time, could I have our state champion swim and divers and wrestlers please come forward at this time, please? So we're going to start off with ladies first. So first we have Miss Lainey Alderman, who is a state champion swimmer in the 100 breaststroke and also school record holder. Her time also earned her automatic All-American honors this past season, making her one of the top 100 breaststrokers in the nation, and she's only a sophomore. Congratulations, Lainey. Next, we have Mr. Luke Rawlings, state champion diver at the 1-meter dive. This is his second straight state championship honor, and he also holds the state record for the 1-meter dive. He also earned All-American honors last year and is in contention again this year and plans to continue his career at Virginia Tech diving. Congratulations, Luke. For our wrestlers, first we have Mr. Reza Masjuni. He earned his first state champion honor as a freshman in the 144 weight class. Congratulations, Reza. Not present tonight is Mr. Jake Roby. He earned his second state championship honor in his career and did so at 190 pounds. And last but not least, we have Mr. Brady Hand. He ended his career as a 4-time state champion for CHS and will also be recognized and honored by the National Wrestling Hall of Fame this Saturday in Charlottesville, Virginia. He earned his 4th state championship honor in the 150-pound weight class this past season. Congrats, Brady. And I also just want to congratulate their coaches, Miss Amy Burrell, Mr. Hunter Bolin, and Coach Hart, for all their efforts to help these young athletes get to where they were. So thank you to them as well.
Again, EMHS has one individual state champion in indoor track. Would Grayson Welcher please come forward? After only having indoor track established for 2 total years, Eastern Montgomery High School is proud to be represented by the first-time boys indoor state champion sophomore Grayson Welcher. Grayson is a 4-sport athlete at EMHS. During the winter season, he is a member of both the boys basketball team as well as the indoor track team. To say that Grayson works hard, has grit and determination really doesn't say enough. During the stretch of cold and inclement weather when schools were closed and practices had to be canceled, you could still spot Grayson on Old Town Road getting his workouts in despite the frigid temperatures and the snow and ice, and it certainly paid off. Grayson is the Class 1 state champion in the 1,000 meter, finishing with a time of 2:38.55. Congratulations, and thank you for your hard work and dedication.
It's really incredible to be able to honor every single high school for having state champions and all kinds of activities. I'm super impressed, and thank you all. Thank you, kids and coaches, teachers, and families for supporting them and giving them the opportunity to do these kinds of things. Moving on, our next honor is for Mr. Jonathan Marie, Blacksburg High School French teacher, who was named the Virginia Department of Education Region 6 Teacher of the Year. Mr. Marie will be traveling to Richmond for a chance to be named the State Teacher of the Year. Dr. Amanda Widener, Interim Assistant Superintendent, will begin our recognition for the Virginia Department of Education Region 6 Teacher of the Year.
Good evening, Chair Purcell, school board members, student representative, and Dr. Gimple. At our February 3rd school board meeting, I had the privilege of announcing Blacksburg High School World Language teacher Jonathan Marie as the Montgomery County Public Schools Teacher of the Year. As our division's honoree, Mr. Marie was subsequently nominated for state-level recognition through the Mary V. Becuvis Virginia Teacher of the Year program. As part of this process, Mr. Marie submitted a comprehensive portfolio to the Virginia Department of Education for consideration at the regional level. I am proud to share that on March 19th, the Virginia Department of Education named Mr. Marie the 2027 Region 6 Teacher of the Year for Virginia, recognizing his exceptional dedication to preparing students for success in a globally connected world. This exciting announcement was made in person at Blacksburg High School by State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Dr. Jenna Conway, who noted, Jonathan Marie inspires students to become global citizens who understand and appreciate the diverse world around them. Learning another language opens doors to new cultures, new ideas, and new possibilities. His teaching helps students broaden their perspectives and develop skills that will benefit them throughout their lives. Dr. Gimple also shared his congratulations, stating, "We are incredibly proud to see Mr. Marie recognized as the Region 6 Teacher of the Year. This honor is a testament to his commitment to academic excellence and his unique ability to inspire students to reach their full potential. Mr. Marie embodies the very best of our division's mission, and we are fortunate to have such a dedicated educator leading our classrooms." At this time, we invite you to view a short video that highlights Mr. Marie's impact, featuring his teaching in action and reflections from students whose lives he has positively impacted.
Bonjour Andrew, ça va bien? Très bien. Ethan, bonjour.
He is the most wonderful teacher I think I've ever had in my life. He has changed the way I learn.
Ils ont fait ou ils ont créé. 5 élèves ont créé.
He cares very much about his students and he does as much as he possibly could for them, and I think that he deserves to be state teacher.
Trois applaudissements pour Ethan. Allez.
I've never met a teacher like him in all of my years of being a student.
Voilà, ok. Merci beaucoup. Applaudissez.
He's always been, I think, the most energetic teacher I've ever had. He always has a plan for the day, and even if we get a little off track, he always has some way to incorporate French into it in some lesson. It doesn't always have to be French, it can be a life lesson too. So I think every day he's very positive, so I really appreciate that about him.
Élève en français AP qui a 3 points.
I have a lot of fun in there and learn so much every single day that I go in there, and I just feel like it's a really great environment and such a positive group of people that are in there. He's going to support you through anything, no matter who you are, no matter like what kind of person you are. He's always there, and I really appreciate that. And I think that's why he should be State Teacher of the Year.
Mr. Murray will now represent Region 6 in the statewide Virginia Teacher of the Year selection process. As part of this next phase, he will travel to Richmond in May, where he will participate in interviews as a candidate for Virginia Teacher of the Year, and he will be recognized at the Governor's Mansion. We extend our very best wishes to Mr. Murray as he continues in this process, and we are confident that he will continue to represent our school division and our region with excellence. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Murray and his family to come forward so we may recognize him once again.
And now, the Montgomery County School Board would like to express appreciation and recognize Sheriff Charles H. Hank Parton for his outstanding service and valued partnership with Montgomery County Public Schools. I will now ask one of our board members, Dana Parton, to read a resolution to honor Sheriff Parton.
First off, I would like to thank Superintendent Dr. Gimple, Chair Purcell, and my fellow board members for allowing me, with humility and honor, to now read a resolution to honor Sheriff Charles H. Hank Parton and to thank him for his years of service and partnership with our schools. Whereas Sheriff Charles H. Hank Parton has faithfully served the citizens of Montgomery County, Virginia with honor, integrity, and unwavering dedication. Whereas throughout their distinguished career, Sheriff Parton has demonstrated a steadfast commitment to public safety, the rule of law, and the well-being of all residents, including the students and staff of Montgomery County Public Schools. And whereas Sheriff Parton has been a valued partner to Montgomery County Public Schools, working collaboratively to ensure safe and secure learning environments, supporting school resource officers, and fostering positive relationships between law enforcement and the school community. And whereas Sheriff Parton has exemplified professionalism, leadership, and compassion, earning the respect and gratitude of colleagues, educators, students, and the broader community. And whereas the Montgomery County School Board recognizes and deeply appreciates Sheriff Parton's many contributions to the safety, success, and well-being of our schools and community. Now, therefore, may it be resolved that the Montgomery County School Board does hereby express its sincere appreciation to Sheriff Charles H. Hank Parton for their outstanding dedication and service, and be it further resolved that the school board extends its best wishes to Sheriff Parton for a well-deserved retirement with health, happiness, and continued success. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Sheriff Charles H. Hank Parton as a token of the school board's gratitude and respect adopted this day, 7th day of April, 2026, by the Montgomery County School Board.
Right. The board will now take a brief break to thank our honorees for being here today.
Our next agenda item is public address. We welcome the opportunity to hear from students, parents, employees, and community members about education matters in this community. As a reminder, the board sets aside 30 minutes to start our public address. We have the option to extend in 30-minute increments, which Ms. Reed will remind us of. If there are additional speakers after 90 minutes, the board will continue their business meeting and hold one additional 30-minute session at the end of the business meeting. The clock continues through applause and disruptions. The more disruptions there are, the fewer speakers who get to address the board. I will call each speaker up by name in the order they signed up. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board. The board does not respond to speakers during public address. The screens will show when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining and when time is up. Please state your name and the area of the county in which you live. Our first speaker tonight is Christopher Simpson. It seems like Mr. Simpson is not present, and that's the only speaker we have signed up for public address this evening. So we'll move on to our next agenda item. Our next agenda item are consent items. If no one wishes to move an item out of consent, we will consider these items approved. Our next agenda item are the financial reports. Do I have a motion to approve the payment of the bills as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Gitry and Ms. Bond? Any discussion? Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitry?
Yes.
Ms. Pardon?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Motion carries. Now we'll move into our business meeting. And Dr. Kelly Gimple will provide our report from the superintendent.
Yeah, a couple things before we see a short presentation. I do want to welcome everybody back from spring break. I hope everybody's well rested with 38 days of school remaining for us. Let's finish strong. I want to thank the AMS and CMS guitar students for being here, along with our parents, and getting us started tonight. That was an awesome rendition. Really appreciated that. April 6th through 10th is National Assistant Principals Week. This is where we're going to celebrate our unsung heroes in our schools and those folks that support our teachers and work with our students to motivate them. They also provide excellent support for our principals. And if you're an AP, I know you're hustling every single day. That is one of those jobs that is very unsung, and there's a lot of work behind it, and they really do help run our schools and keep our kids safe and support our teachers. So thank you to all of our assistant principals. It's also National School Librarians Month. With that, during the week of the 19th through 25th, I'm going to invite all of our school board members and our essential office staff. We're going to be invited to go out to our elementary schools and do some reading to some of our younger students. So more information will be sent out regarding that to all of our school board members for you to sign up for some schools and some grade levels, but we'll get that information out to you shortly. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that you're invited to read to our students coming up in the next few weeks. We're also partnering with the Imagination Library. That's a group that is sponsored by Dolly Parton, who provides free books to our preschool students. And so we're partnering them for this month, trying to advertise that and to drum up a little bit more business for that awesome organization that provides books free of charge. It'll actually send the books to the houses of those young children with their name on it, so they get a little, a book in the mail addressed directly to them. The link will be on our website shortly for anybody out there who has preschool students who would like to take part in this. And again, it's a free service, and it's called Imagination Library. You'll hear more about that as we move along through this month. It's also prom season. With all the excitement that goes with that, the nice warm weather, I just want to do another reminder to our 16, 17, and 18-year-old drivers to please, please, please slow down, put your seatbelts on, put your phone away, and pay attention to the road. Just a critical time as the weather changes here. We just want to keep you safe and make sure that you're enjoying the rest of the school year and on into your future. So take it easy on the roads, please. This month is also the month of the military child. In MCPS, we have about 120 military-connected children in our schools, so important to recognize them. It's also Autism Awareness Month. Over the past couple of weeks since our last board meeting, I've attended lots and lots of fun things here and interesting meetings. I've took a tour of the Christiansburg Institute Museum. If you have not been there and seen some of this living history, you need to go by and check it out. They're doing an awesome job of collecting artifacts and displaying them. Very proud of that heritage there. So if you ever have a chance, please stop by the Christiansburg Institute. That museum is right down the road here from us. I met with the Economic Development Commission. That was a great meeting, learning a little bit more about the area and some of the key people that help to keep our county thriving in many different ways. The MCPS Assistant Principal meeting was held just a few weeks ago. I had an opportunity to speak to all of our assistant principals. I also met with all the school counselors and had a chance to address them. That was a great time to get to know them and see their faces and have an opportunity to interact. Also, the Greater Montgomery Liaison Group met again, and so I got to sit down with those folks again and kind of hear some reports from all different areas of our great county. So great couple of weeks. Tosh has kept me extremely busy here. I met with every single principal in the division over the last 2 weeks, and along with all of my staff members, just talking about where they see themselves in the organization here, what their goals are as far as career, and just getting to know them a little better. So I really appreciate their time and coming up here to central office and sitting down with me and just sharing a little bit of themselves. And I'm just absolutely convinced that we have great leadership within our schools and also within our central office, and I just want to thank everybody for their hard work. All right, next, Mike Brown, you're going to give us an update. We're working on the CIP. The CIP is a huge document that we're putting together. Last time we met, we presented a historical view of all the different projects that had taken place going back about 10 years. Dr. Brown has now put together a immediate needs and 1 year out sort of prospectus for us. It also includes cost analysis. He's going to go through this in a presentation just so you can see what's upcoming within the next year. And these are things that were identified through the research, through our facility study as being a critical need to be replaced or addressed. All right. The rest of the CIP, the long-range plan, Dr. Brown's going to be working with a committee on that. He'll be talking about that here a little bit later, but that's going to take a little bit longer because that group will be going through the entire 900-page document and putting that into an order of operations for us. But we did want to pull the critical needs that need to be taken care of this next month, next couple months, and also within the next year, so you would have some context going forward. Dr. Brown.
Thank you. This is part two of our presentation. As Dr. Gimple said, we had the historical data last time. This data was compiled as part of our facility study. And we asked our architect to put a list together of projects that needed attention in the next 12 months. We took that information and we gave it a scale rank of 1 to 10, 1 being minimally important and 10 being, it needed to be addressed as soon as possible within the next 12 months. The first item is Auburn Elementary School. We have a generator there that's been in place since the school was built. It has some issues. The cabinet is rusted. We have some issues with the fuel line. This generator also, it powers our fire panel in case the power goes out, and also our emergency lights. This is something that we feel like we can do in 2026 and be an easy replacement. The estimated cost on that $69,000. Auburn High School and Prices Fork Elementary, it was identified that we needed some railing installed in some areas and to repair some railings. The picture on my left is Prices Fork Elementary, and the picture on my right, that is at Auburn High School. That is something that we can do fairly quickly, and I've actually got a contractor giving us some estimates on that so we can move forward. $11,500 for both of those. Christiansburg Middle School. Their gym curtain divider is currently inoperable. We are looking into a possible repair. Don't know if that's possible, but we won't look at it first. If it's not able to repair it, then we'll replace it. We possibly could do that this summer of 2026, and our architect has estimated that at around $28,750. And the curtain, if you'll look at the picture, if you can see that, is the blue line going across. And that is an important part for our gym classes, to be able to divide up and have 2 classes in there at the same time. Okay. Christiansburg and Eastern Montgomery High School, the tennis courts, these pictures do not show the extent of the condition of both of these courts. This is a safety issue. Facilities did try to do some repairs this year to the ones at Christiansburg High School, but they are temporary repairs. Basically, both courts need to be replaced, completely replaced. It will require some design work. The earliest with that and where we're at in the year, the earliest we could probably start work on that is summer of 2027. Of course, that would be after the tennis season. And you see the estimated cost there, $535,200 at Christiansburg and $598,000 at Eastern Montgomery. Eastern Montgomery High School has some toilet partitions that we need to replace. You can see they're original to the building, and they need some attention. We could do that the summer of 2026, and you can see there that cost estimate is $57,500. Gilbert Lincoln Elementary, they have a handicap ramp that leads from the building out to the annex. And as you can see, it's in pretty poor condition. We would like to replace that this summer. And of course, there will be design services needed from our architect and to bid that out. Estimated cost on that is $115,500. But you can see just from the pictures there, it's a little out of level. You really can't get a close up, but the salt and just the years have deteriorated the actual surface, and it could be a tripping hazard. Kipps Elementary School. Of course, we have spoke about the canopy that was damaged during the ice storm. We need to get that replaced. I've asked our facilities personnel to go ahead and remove that canopy so we can get that entrance opened back up. So we need to do that. The other thing too is there's some gutter and some brick that needs attention. And on my right, if you see the front there, the green area, that is the gutter, and some additional guttering associated with that needs some attention. The brick needs some attention, and we need to get that taken care of this summer. Montgomery Central. So there's some steps that come out from Montgomery Central, and as you can see, they're in pretty poor condition. We have 2 options there. No one really uses the steps. So one option is we could just remove them and reseed that area and go forth. Or we could, if the board so chooses, we can actually remove and replace those stairs. But that's something, if we replace them, it's $230,000. If we just remove them and reseed the area, probably around $25,000 to $30,000. And again, I don't know that they're used. I'd have to check with Mr. Stanley to see about that, make certain, but those are our 2 options for that. Charlesville Middle School. Again, we have some steps that need some attention. As you can see there on my right, the steps need to be replaced. The hot water heater has some, it's just at its end of its life cycle, needs to be replaced. And then our electrical system, we need to look into that, about replacing that as well. We are actually speaking to another consulting engineering firm to get a second opinion on that to make sure that we take the right course of action on that. So I should have some additional information for you at the next board meeting on that. So if we do have to replace the electrical panels and the switchgear, and combined with the stair replacement and the water heater, you're looking at $2,047,000. So, in conclusion, right now, over the next 12 months, we're looking at around $4 million. The summer total there, projects $626,750. Summer, that's where we have the bulk of the cost there at $3,410,000. I also broke that out per strand for you as well. So again, this is a second part of our presentation leading up to the kickoff of our CIP and getting more in depth with that. So at this time, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you.
So I have one. With the tennis courts at both of those schools, what's the alternative if they're not usable at this time?
So Eastern Montgomery is just now getting back into tennis, and they've made arrangements with, I believe, I talked to Mr. Lewis, I believe they practice there. You can practice on them. It's just, I don't know that you can play on them. I do believe they potentially play their matches at Glenver right now, but they would like to get a more, a tennis courts that they could use and host matches and so forth. Christiansburg, like I said, we really thought outside the box and came up with a solution and repaired 3 of the courts. We spoke with the tennis coach and Mr. Gwynn there. So they were okay with the 3 courts that we repaired. But like I said, those are temporary repairs at best. So I think they're playing matches there at Christiansburg, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to verify that.
Excuse me, may I bug in? I was on the varsity tennis team last year, and whenever Blacksburg went to Christiansburg for a home match, we were only able to use 3 of the tennis courts, which held up multiple matches when you have singles and doubles, because the other ones were just unplayable. It wasn't fair to one team if you played on one side, so we could only use 3 at a time.
Thank you. Okay, because they look pretty unsafe, even to practice on.
So you can repair these, but in my experiences, in 2 school divisions I've been in, you wind up spending a lot of money on the repair. And the division I came from formerly, we repaired them, put the leveling compound on, and it cracked within the first month. So we spent a considerable amount of money to repair something. Basically, the foundation or the ground underneath has failed, and it needs to you just need to take it all up, recompact it, have geotechnical engineering services there, make sure it's compacted, do your stone, do new asphalt, and resurface the actual tennis courts. So it's a complete removal and replacement. Pretty substantial work.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Brown?
I have just a couple of quick questions. So I know you want to get started on some of the work for this summer. For our benefit, also for the public, where do the funds come for this work, in particular for the work that's coming in 2026 or projected?
It would come from the interest money off of Christiansburg High School, and then also our capital outlay funds as well.
Okay. So the facility study, when is that going to be? I know that it's 900 pages. Presumably there's an electronic copy of that. When is that going to be made available to the board as well as to the public, since presumably, if public funds were used to finance the study, then it should be, in my belief is that it should be made available to the public as well. It's not privileged.
We're working to get it into a format that it can be presented because it's so large right now. It's just, it's really difficult to flip through. I'm
Yeah.
working with the architect to see if we can break it down by strand, just to see how we can present it and not have it be aggravating of trying to, wait 5 minutes for it to open up or this, that. So we're working on that currently and hope to have it.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to,
Yes.
to seeing that. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
So concerning the tennis courts at Christiansburg High School, I know there has been some discussion. I know when we had the softball field put in, we had an issue. And the reason I know this is because I was sitting there watching my daughter play softball, but then tennis matches were going on. And I think part of the problem has been alleviated due to the scheduling and times of the tennis matches versus the softball games. But there were on several occasions where some of those matches went over time and softball had started and vice versa. So back when Dr. Meyer was here, it was brought up to see if we could have some of the safety netting put up for the foul balls from the softball field. I know a couple of tennis players have been hit. Thankfully, no one has been seriously injured, but I've had a couple people reach out to me with concerns on getting that netting up. From what I remember, that was talked about with the board way back when, and we were told at that time that that was going to be done, but it has not been put up yet. So I was wondering if that could be looked at and discussed, and we could check the price on that. And I figured since we're going to make the tennis court safer, if we could just incorporate the netting, go ahead and incorporate the netting up there with that as well.
To keep the foul balls from the softball
Yeah, to
field?
help catch the foul balls, so it doesn't pose an issue to any of our tennis players possibly getting hit
I'll
and
look
things like that.
into that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Bond, did you have anything? Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Brown.
Thank you.
And Dr. Gimple, if you could just maybe provide some context about the superintendent's report, as previously it hasn't been our practice to have information this deep in your report, but if you could just kind of explain the differentiation and kind of what we're trying to do with, or what you're trying to do with presenting some things as part of this report as opposed to elsewhere in the agenda.
Yeah, so the idea behind having some of these reports in the superintendent's report period is really just communication. It's really trying to provide information to you all to keep you up to date. Like, we didn't really have to do like a one-year plan or a historical perspective, but as we're building towards our CIP, instead of having a separate whole presentation, this is really just to give you information, right? These aren't customary regular reports that the board would receive quarterly or yearly. These are more just, I could either verbalize it, or in some cases I'll ask staff to compile a report just to make sure you all and the public are informed of what's going on, to just be more communicative. That's really the idea, and I think it's better to have Dr. Brown presenting this information, since he's the one who's really dealing with it and researching it for us, just like it would be if I was, having a presentation with you about anything financial. I'd probably have Angie Bland up here just to inform you. But it's not the in-depth formal presentations. These are more just informative short reports just to keep you all posted on an ongoing basis. Sometimes it's stuff I overhear you guys talking about, and so I'm going to do a report on that next time. Sometimes it's things I pick up through emails from the public where they might have questions. Good reason for us to do a report, right? But it's not necessarily the larger scope presentations that you'll get later on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Communication is always good, but for information especially with these kind of figures, I would like to have this information before a board meeting, so I'm able to process and, and make a decision. Because I don't want to have to go back and forth with you all. I want to make sure that we have everything. So I appreciate that. ask questions about things beforehand. This is a lot. So I would just appreciate it before the meeting.
I think that was the goal, was to have it on there so you could peruse it prior. It just took a little bit longer to put this one together, collect figures and things like that. But I appreciate Dr. Brown's efforts on it. Ended up being a good report. So that's why it wasn't in a different area. But I understand what you're saying. We're trying to do every effort we can to get these things into the agenda so that all of you can read them ahead of time, ask questions to the team, and then we make a presentation for everybody to sort of get the knowledge.
So at some other point, you'll be coming back to us to make decisions on like the stairs at Montgomery Central and things like that, or how's this going to work?
Yeah, the presentation you saw tonight was really those critical needs that were identified as safety issues, right? That's kind of dominated these particular items, and so those are the kind of things we need to get rolling on pretty quick. All right, that's why we wanted to make sure at least you got the heads up on those things now, even though there's some of them going all the way out to next summer, right? I would include the tennis courts in that, right? I think that's a safety issue. We've got to get those things fixed. I don't know that PE teachers are happy taking their kids out there or whatever, but or using them at all right now. But those kinds of things like the railing that you saw, we've got to get that stuff addressed like now, So Dr. Brown's kind of put this in an order of things to be addressed. He does have some money right now to do that with through his own department, and some of these things will be, like we said, through the interest.
If there aren't any other questions, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Yep, okay. Our next agenda item is strengthening career and technical education for the 21st Century Act, Perkins 5 grant application. This is a first read. The administration will present a summary of the 2026-2027 Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act grant application. This grant will be presented again at the April 21st, 2026 board meeting for approval. Megan Atkinson, Administrator of CTE and Business Partnerships, is available for questions if needed. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, Dr. Gimple. I just wanted to go through a quick summary of where we are with career and technical education and the draft of our Perkins plan. So I shared in the presentation a list of the Board of Education approved industry credentials for next school year. We use that list to determine which credentials we assign to our different programs. And then I also included the link to the Virginia Office of Education Economics. That is a partnership with Virginia Works and Economic Development, and they determine where we can anticipate jobs to be, what industry sectors are going to have growth in jobs. So when we're lining up and selecting those credentials, when we're looking at potentially selecting new programs, we have to show that there will be jobs available in those programs. So those resources are there for you to review. And then for our industry credentials, they have started designating the credentials as either high demand or just industry credentials. And I've noted that the industry credentials that we offer, anything that's highlighted in that bright green, is considered a high demand industry credential. So the credentials line up with potential job growth in our community. To summarize the application, our points of pride in our annual performance report, that's based on our student scores from the 24-25 school year. Our points of pride are our four-year graduation rate, academic proficiency in math, post-program placement, and technical skills attainment. So we are at or above the standards that the state sets for our CTE students with those measures. Some areas for growth. Academic proficiency in English, we were very close, less than 2% from that indicator, and we improved from the previous year. So we're making growth there. Our non-traditional program concentration, that is based on genders of students and the career paths that are traditionally gendered. So, for example, construction is traditionally a male-dominated field. So we're measured on non-traditional program placement there. We allow students to select the career or the CTE program of their choice. So that number is going to fluctuate based on student interest. Attained recognized post-secondary credentials, so those are those industry credentials. We've got some room for growth there, but we've improved over the previous year. Our special populations, our students with disabilities, academic proficiency in science, and then our work-based learning indicator. So we've got some work to do there, and that comes from the revised definition of high-quality work-based learning that went into effect this school year. So the demands of work-based learning are significantly higher, and they're attached to a CTE program. So we're working on getting those numbers up as well. And then in the Perkins plan itself, which is attached to this agenda item, we did note that we don't have the actual Perkins budget yet. That typically comes later in the early summer. We'll submit the application using this year's allocation, and then once they send us that number, we revise it and send it back in. So for the funding that is coming through Perkins, we will use that $174,000 that we were allocated this year. You'll see the majority of the money is dedicated to equipment. CTE equipment is expensive, so we appreciate the money that we get there. We also have allocated $16,000 for professional development. A lot of our CTE teachers are a department of one in their building. So we want to encourage them to attend state and national conferences so that they can collaborate with teachers that are teaching the content area that they are also teaching. And then we are wrapping up our industry credential testing for this school year, and we always set aside some money in our Perkins plan to make sure that we offer industry credentials to all students and that our students do not pay for those exams, that we pay for them. So we use the state allocation that's given. We have 3 different state allocations, and then that remaining expense we pay for with our Perkins plan. So that's the information I have. I am available for questions if there are any at this point. I know it's a first read and the document's pretty long, so, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Board members, any questions?
I just have a quick question. So the 175,000 roughly that was allocated for 25-26, is that number given to us, or do we apply for that amount of money?
So that number is given to us. The state applies for their Perkins allocation from the federal government, and then it is divided among all of the localities in the state based on student enrollment.
Okay, so if we increase our offerings in CTE, that would have to just come from our regular operating budget and not from an ask for an increase in the Perkins. Like, that's a given amount and we just have to work with whatever we're allocated.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Other board members? Olivia, do you have a question? That's perfectly fine. Thank you so much, Ms. Atkinson, for being here tonight. Dana, did you have a question? Okay. Moving on, Dr. Matt Dunleavy, Director of Grants, Innovation, and Partnerships, will present information on the supplemental appropriations request from the Patron Endowment.
Good evening, Chair Purcell, members of the board, Superintendent Gimple, Ms. McNulty. Ms. Reed, Ms. Osborne. I am Matt Dunleavy. I'm the Director of Grants, Innovation, and Partnerships here at the Montgomery County Public Schools. I'm joined by my colleague Andrew Webb, Coordinator of Communications and Public Relations. We are here this evening to present the supplemental appropriations request regarding strategic implementation of a unique and impactful gift to our students, the Patron Endowment. Before we dive into the logistics of the request, it is important to understand the heart of this initiative. This endowment was established in 2020 through the incredible generosity of Ralph W. Patron, created in loving memory of his mother, Juanita W. Patron. The mission of this endowment is twofold. Number one, access. It is dedicated to introducing and promoting recreational and amateur golf to the students of MCPS. And number two, character. It aims to use the game of golf as a vehicle to foster the essential life values, including honesty, sportsmanship, and citizenship. To fulfill this mission, we are proposing the creation of the Patron Golf Simulator at Auburn High School. This facility represents a significant pivot for MCPS towards high-impact investments from the endowment. Rather than smaller, fragmented efforts, this center will serve as a flagship facility providing year-round golf instruction, moving beyond the limitations of seasonal weather, and legacy preservation, ensuring the Patron's family's contribution is recognized in a permanent state-of-the-art space. And ready for the next slide. So on the left, you'll see Juanita W. Patron during her active years. And on the right, you'll see an artificial intelligence mock-up of the space. We've been working closely with Dr. Brown as well as Mr. Ratcliffe and others in the division to look at the space at Auburn High School, make sure it's ready for the construction and installation. And so that is an artist's rendition, and you can see we've got some memorabilia there, as well as a picture in honor of Mrs. Patron. The center will feature a massive 16-foot impact screen and a TrackMan I/O system safely mounted above the swing arc. The space also includes an observations zone with a high top bar for student engagement and a dedicated area featuring a portrait and brass plaque to honor Mrs. Patron. To bring this vision to life at Auburn High School, we are submitting a supplemental appropriations request in the amount of $62,700. These funds will allow us to complete the strategic implementation of the center, providing a space where our students can build both their athletic skills and their character in an environment that honors the Patron family's commitment to our community. It is important to clarify that these funds are coming exclusively from the endowment, not the division's general fund or capital improvement budget. These funds are legally restricted by the donor's intent to be used specifically for the promotion of golf. I want to close by thanking the Patron family and the former executive of the Patron estate, Mr. John Skelton. Both have been extremely generous and helpful in guiding our efforts. Thank you for your time and your continued support of innovation in Montgomery County Public Schools. And Andrew and I are happy to answer any questions you might have.
Board members, any questions? Ms. Franklin?
I would just like to say it's a wonderful opportunity that the Patron family has endowed this county with, and I just can't wait. Maybe I'll even come and take a swing. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, we do plan on having a ribbon cutting ceremony, and we're going to invite Mr. John Skelton as well as the surviving members of the Patron family, of course, the board, as well as Superintendent Gimple and the rest of the leadership team will be invited. And Mr. David Hurd, the principal of Auburn High School, is also, we're working closely with him as well as the principals at Auburn Middle School and Auburn Elementary School, which are all within walking distance of the high school. So that we can make this as accessible as possible to as many kids as possible. And this is the first stage of a multi-stage process. And so we're now looking at sites for the next simulator. And we're hoping that'll either be in Eastern Montgomery or in Christiansburg, so we can continue to build upon this legacy but also honor the wishes of Ms. Patron to really make this accessible to all kids, including and especially those kids who may not have the opportunity or resources to access the game of golf. And so we're thrilled and thank you for recognizing that generosity of the Patron family.
I was just going to make a comment that I remember the night that they had bestowed that gift on to us and how wonderful it was. And but I did have some questions. That was quite a few years ago.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
have we used any of the funding up to this point? Because I know I have had golf teams kind of say, where is that funding that we were kind of supposed to be getting? And so I was just curious if what amount had we used? What did we do with it? Things like that. So.
Yes, ma'am. That's a great question. So we've used approximately $125,000 of the gift. The original gift was $1 million. Per the agreement that was signed in 2020, we are allowed to use basically the interest off of that gift each year, which is 4 to 5%, depending upon the year. There is a one-time clause where we're also enabled to dip into $100,000 of the gift. We have not done that yet. But to answer your question more directly, about $125,000 was used prior to this year. During this year, we've used approximately $70,000, and that's been managed under previous leadership. And Dr. Lori Comer took over the management under Dr. Lois Graham's direction last year, and she's done an outstanding job of putting a steering committee together, which includes Andrew and myself. And since then, we've looked at, okay, well, how do we continue to use this strategically? And that's where we started to explore the stimulation centers. But in years past, to answer your question in a different way, Mrs. Bond, the schools were allotted different amounts over the years, and those have been used to support in direct alignment with the agreement, the game of golf. And so that might include transportation to facilities, that might include bags, that might include range finders, other things to support the game of golf. And so it has been managed in a way that's made this accessible to the schools over the years.
So if I could add one thing to that, I believe it's my understanding that the Auburn Middle School team was created specifically from funding for this. So that's just one example of how that's been used.
I have a question. Sorry, I know you said that it's like within walking distance between Auburn students. Will this be available for other high schools as well?
Absolutely. We're looking at that right now with the building level principals to see how we can make that as accessible as possible. We haven't figured out all the logistics of that, but that is something we are focused on and developing as we speak.
As Auburn will be primarily using it, do you think Auburn might actually have a chance at breaking Blacksburg's state title?
Well, I think they're in different classes, but I do believe Auburn High School has secured multiple state championships at this stage. So
They both won this year.
yeah, so they're both doing great. Good question, though. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentation. You started to answer a couple of the questions that I had. So how much is the fund, if there was $1 million, the initial endowment, how much interest is being earned every year approximately?
My understanding is approximately 4 to 5% each year.
Okay. So for this appropriation, is that coming strictly from, probably not just interest, or is that dipping into the endowment itself?
No,
I
sir.
don't have a calculation in front of me.
It's coming directly from the interest. And so we have not touched the $1 million principal as of yet, and that is not on our horizon. We're going to, obviously, as we manage the budget and determine what our expenses are, but right now, you're sitting on approximately $1,132,000 minus the $70,000 that we spent this year, plus this appropriation. We'll take it down to the principal. And then those will be the expenses for the Patron endowment and the uses therein for this year.
Great. And the only other thing that does come to mind to me is that I know there are discussions about the MCPS website. Is it easy to find information about the endowment on MCPS's website so people can see, because that could, it might inspire other community members to do something similar if they see what an endowment can do and what it can mean for MCPS.
Absolutely. We really wanted to show off this gift and why it was important and what impact it has. So if you take a look at our homepage, there's the sliding pictures. It's got a purple background, shows like the Juanita Patron Foundation endowment. There's a link to click more, takes you right to a landing page, has a whole process of what we spent the money on in the past, some photos, we plan to do in the future, as well as detailing this project at Auburn High School.
So right now, it's just on the sliding banner, but so if you okay, great. That's just, I didn't look, but if there are questions from the community about how the money's being spent, is it easy for them to find the information?
Absolutely. And I believe there's a little timeline of years past how it's been spent, a couple of the PR pieces we put together. But right now, it's housed, I believe it's under the communications page, but it's linked right to the homepage.
Mr. Webb, it's up there for you. This is on our webpage on the front page.
That's great. I mean, some people might not know to look under communications, but I'm glad to see that we do have a dedicated
We can work on finding a better landing page for it. It's one of those things that may just need its own tab. It's kind of what.
Yeah, because I wouldn't know to look under the communications page for it. I mean, obviously, if it's on the front page and I notice it, but thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you both.
And I have to give Andrew and you credit for the website, and this is directly to your question, Dr. Guidry. We wanted to make sure and showcase for the family our gratitude. And so Andrew took lead on that and then went back, found some archival photographs, and worked directly with the former executor of the Patron Estate, John Skelton, to make sure that we really increased the profile of it. And that was also done under the leadership of Dr. Comer. This is obviously before the Superintendent Gimbel came on board, but I wanted to make sure Dr. Comer and Andrew got their credit for doing exactly what you were encouraging us to do. So it's already been done.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it's on the front page banner, not under communications, but on the front page scrolling banner that all you have to do is get on our website and it'll scroll across and it comes up, you click on it, and it's all the information's there.
Any other questions?
Just thank you for the presentation and highlighting the generosity of the Patron family to highlighting golf in Southwest Virginia. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you for your leadership and support. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Dunleavy and Mr. Webb. So now I would like to ask for a motion to authorize a supplemental appropriation to the 2025-2026 school board operating budget in the amount of $62,700.
So moved.
Ms. Franklin and Ms. Bond. Any discussion? Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Dr. Guidry,
Yes.
Ms. Pardon,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell.
Yes.
7 in favor.
Motion carries. Moving on, our next item on the agenda is related to the special election happening on April 21st. So April 21st, 2026 has been designated as a special election day in Virginia and will impact operations at 8 school sites: Bellevue Elementary, Christiansburg Middle School, Auburn High School, Price's Fork Elementary School, Margaret Beeks Elementary School, Blacksburg Middle School, Gilbert Lincoln Elementary School, and Falling Branch Elementary School. Dr. Amanda Widener, Interim Assistant Superintendent, will provide operational options for the school board's consideration regarding the status of schools on this date. Thank you, Dr. Widener.
And it will impact operations at 8 of our schools, 5 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 1 of our high schools. Due to the anticipated increase in public access to these schools, the school board may wish to consider a calendar adjustment. And there are some different options here. One option is that we could close schools to students and our 10-month instructional staff. Another option would be closing schools for students, but having it as a teacher workday. We could also consider implementing a virtual learning day. While schools have remained open during some of our past special elections, the scale and nature of this election may cause greater disruptions to both the learning environment and our school operations. Several of our neighboring school divisions have already made adjustments to their calendars. Roanoke County has scheduled a workday for all employees. Roanoke City and Floyd County have scheduled teacher workdays on April 21st. Other divisions across the state, including Chesapeake, Williamsburg, James City, and Richmond, have planned virtual learning days, and they have cited student safety and an effort to minimize disruption as the primary reasons for that. Just to bring you up to speed on how a change in the calendar might impact our instructional hours, our current school calendar includes 1,002.5 instructional hours. And due to weather-related closures that we've had this year, we have lost 76 hours. If we were to close schools on April 21st, not a virtual learning day, but if we were to close schools to students, that would reduce our total instructional hours to 996.5 hours, which is just above the state minimum requirement of 990 hours. A virtual learning day, keep in mind, would preserve our instructional hours. We recently did a survey of our staff members just to get feedback and input on their on their perspectives regarding April 21st. And 69% of those who responded, first of all, we had 898 staff members who took the survey and responded. 69% indicated a strong or significant anticipated impact on student safety and or the learning environment. And consequently, 61% of those believe that keeping schools open would be the least preferred option on April 21st. The following preference trends were also indicated in the survey. 44% of those who completed the survey have a preference for closing schools to students and instructional staff. However, 36% would prefer a teacher workday, and 43% ranked the teacher workday as the second preference. 19% of our staff said they would prefer a virtual learning day. However, 31% also ranked that as their least preferred option. Staff were asked to identify what were the key factors in their response, and overwhelmingly, the main reason is student and security concerns. 86% of staff cited safety and security concerns as the main thing that influenced their perspective on how they responded. 64% noted traffic and parking disruptions, and 46% were concerned about instructional time and the continuity of learning. So the predominant concern expressed in the survey is student safety and security, particularly related to public access to school buildings during the school day. Some operational challenges were noted, including the use of school spaces, which can potentially disrupt learning, and also traffic congestion and parking limitations. Many staff members do support a teacher workday or a full closure as the safest option. A teacher workday would provide valuable time for instructional preparation ahead of upcoming SOL and AP testing. Some staff emphasize the importance of preserving instructional time, given the number of hours that we've already missed, and expressed a preference for either remaining open or utilizing a virtual learning day. And while virtual learning is viewed by some as a safer alternative, there were those who also expressed concern with the virtual learning day about its effectiveness and equity, particularly for younger students, those without reliable internet access, and staff balancing caregiving responsibilities. So based on all of these operational considerations and staff feedback, the administration recommends converting April 21st to a non-student teacher workday. This would require board action, so I'm happy to answer any questions you may have as you consider whether to take action on changing the calendar for April 21st.
Board members, any questions? We would probably want to take action tonight, considering our next meeting is on April 21st.
So for me, the thought of reducing the amount of instructional time that we would need to be in good standing with the state, because this is the time of year where we still could have issues with weather. And as our climate has changed in our area, flooding has become a big issue in the springtime with rain and things. So I know virtual is not the optimum option, but it still gives us some wiggle room in case we end up having to close schools for some reason. So for me, it would be to make it a virtual day.
Thank you, Ms. Franklin. Dr. Roundtree?
Yeah, keeping our number of instructional hours up is, I think, beneficial for our students, and getting, having 2 weeks to prepare for a virtual day, while not ample time, is longer than we've had in the previous times with weather-related closures. Virtual days are never the optimal instructional method, but they're this time of year, I think they're, and with our previous closures, they're better than just closing.
Mr. Roberts, are you ready with any remarks?
I think we ought to close the schools. I understand that instructional time is an issue, but the value I think students get from online instruction is negligible at best. I'm also hearing that sounds like staff would prefer that we close them as well. So I would be on board for closing the schools on the 21st.
Dr. Getchie?
Thank you. So for me, it's always good to have information beforehand. So if there was a survey, it would have been nice to have access to that survey, to think through this before the meeting, and to know that we're going to take action on it. Can you tell me once again the difference between the support of virtual learning versus professional development?
So 19% of staff indicated that a virtual learning day would be their most preferred option. 31% ranked it as the least preferred. 44% of staff chose closing schools, not as a teacher workday, but just closing schools to students and instructional staff as the most preferred. 36 chose a teacher workday as the most preferred. And 43% ranked the teacher workday as the second preference.
Okay, first.
So staff were divided on the virtual learning day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the administration is recommending professional development day. Yeah, okay. Since we have to make a decision this evening, if that's the recommendation, and looking at these percentages, I'm fine with that recommendation. I can support it.
Ms. Parton?
So it is no surprise that I am not in favor of virtual learning unless we absolutely have to, but until we get our virtual learning where it needs to be, I feel like it's going to be the same as the kids being out of school anyway, because I don't feel like anything is really achieved for them with the virtual learning. With it being so close to the SOL time, and I know I'm usually a stickler on the instructional time, however, I feel like for our teachers' sake, it would possibly benefit them to have an extra work day. I know They're always saying they would like to have extra time and days to prepare. So if we could use that day for them to get prepared for the SOLs, I'd be fine with that. And it sounds like, according to the survey, a good majority of those people had that as their first, if not their second choice. So I would vote, my vote is going to be for closed to students, but teacher workday.
Ms. Bond?
I just don't know, because it's a negative on each. You know, I hear the same. I hear teachers constantly say they want time in their in their classrooms without students, so that's an opportunity. I did have somebody approach me this weekend and thank me for fighting for the calendar and less days off because of how much money they had to spend for daycare during that time that they could not afford. And just that there were no programs, someone raising their grandchild. And so there's a negative to that, school being out, period. And, the safety issue for the schools that have community members coming in and voting. So I understand, and I agree with the virtual. I don't know that it's completely positive for every student. I'm not saying that it doesn't for those students that are driven. I think that they can, benefit from that. And I do think here at the end of the year, SOLs, we need that. So I don't know. Probably at this point, I think I would probably lean toward a teacher workday.
Olivia, do you have any thoughts?
In my opinion, I feel like the beginning of May is when the majority of the AP exams take place, and I feel that having a day off for students not only would give them ease of mind, have a day to relax, reset, maybe study on a specific class for their AP exam they need to do, and having a teacher workday will also, I guess, will help prepare the teachers for what they need to, since it's such an important time of the year for the AP exam or SOLs, I feel like giving them a chance to plan would help. I feel like having like a virtual day is only just going to stress out the teacher and the students as well, especially for students who have multiple classes. So I feel like it'd really help educationally for students in higher classes or that have big exams coming up.
Thank you for sharing your perspective.
I do have a quick question. When we had obtained virtual learning, I don't know that I remember exactly the hours that are required as a virtual learning day. Is it a full day or is it a shorter day? And just asking in the sense of, can you do a half day, a early release sort of day on a virtual day, or do you have to do the whole day, or is it a 5-hour day considered? I can't remember what happened there.
So the state has not prescribed a set number of hours. It doesn't have to be synchronous learning. It can be asynchronous learning, where it does require us to take attendance for students. It does require us to provide meals that students or their families can pick up. So in terms of the number of hours, we do have a lot of discretion in how we structure it. It could be structured as an asynchronous day where students have to go in and submit their attendance somehow, and then have access, typically it's through Google Classroom, to assignments or resources that are shared by their teachers. The other option is that it can be set up as a synchronous learning day where a schedule is created and students log in and through Google Meet have face-to-face interaction with teachers. But that requirement is not prescribed by the VDOE. So we have flexibility in how we would structure it.
So with that being, I understand the breakfasts are provided, but since we don't provide lunch, that would also be a cost to MCPS as well, correct? By doing that virtual learning that day.
Well, I believe
And lunches have to be provided.
the lunches have to be provided. But again, we do qualify for some reimbursements for a certain amount of lunches that we provide.
And are those lunches delivered, kind of like we did in the summer school program, or did they have to come to the school to provide it?
Parents would have to come to the schools to pick them up.
Okay. So it's an option, basically. If they want to come and get it, it's there, but
They don't have to
they
come
don't
get
have
them,
to.
but yes, we have to provide the ability for them to come and pick up lunches, meals, yes.
Dr. Roundtree, you have another comment?
Sure. So I was writing down those numbers as you were saying them, so I might have some wrong. 19% virtual learning day was the least preferred. 44%, or sorry, 19% virtual learning day was the most preferred, 44% least preferred. The other 37%, that was their second option?
They actually had 4 options on the survey, so the options were closed schools to students and instructional staff, teacher workday, virtual learning day, or just leave schools open.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
So if my count is still correct, I think closing schools to students with a teacher workday, Mr. Roberts, Dr. Guitry, Ms. Parton, and Ms. Bond, you were all in support of that. I know that the division was making some plans to make virtual learning a little more robust than it has been in the past, and I think this could potentially be a good opportunity to pilot that. However, I'm happy to vote with the majority of the board. If someone would like to make a motion to amend the calendar to make April 21st a teacher workday and closed to students, unless there's more discussion.
I have a question, sorry. So for one of the virtual days, because we're on an AB schedule, there was a couple of days where we had it where all of our classes had to post material and work, and then there was another day where it was only, if it was a B day, then only B day classes posted. So if we were to have virtual, like a virtual learning day, April 21st, would it be all 8 classes? Or would it just be that assigned B or A day?
It would be whatever that day is scheduled to be. So if that day is currently scheduled as an A day, it would be your A day classes.
Is there any more discussion or other questions?
Move to close schools on April 21st with the teacher workday. That was the motion, right? All right.
I believe so.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Roundtree, seconded by Mr. Roberts. Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Additional discussion.
Any additional discussion? Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
No.
Dr. Guitry,
Yes.
Ms. Pardon,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell.
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 opposed.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Widener. Moving on to our next agenda item, we have a first read of a board policy review, MCPS policies from Section 1. I am so sorry, I am skipping ahead in my agenda paper. Next on the agenda, we have some employee exit information and a presentation from Dr. Tom Brewster. This presentation provides an overview of employee exit trends across recent school years, highlighting key patterns by job category and demographic groups. The goal is to better understand where retention efforts are succeeding, identify emerging areas of concern, and inform strategies to support a stable and effective workforce. Dr. Tom Brewster, Acting Director of Human Resources, will present an update on exit data, information, and trends. And this is informational only. Thank you, Dr. Brewster, and apologies.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Gempel.
Today or this evening, I want to provide you with a presentation, and the purpose of that presentation is to look at exit patterns and vacancy rates for the school divisions. Now, I do want to distinguish the difference between exit rates and vacancy rates. Exit rates refer to employees leaving the school division. That could be through retirement, that could be moving to another school division, another locality, or exiting Montgomery County Public Schools, the education profession altogether. So it's a variety of reasons why teachers and employees leave. Vacancy rates, however, is done at the very beginning, the start of the year. We do a report, we do a PEC report for the state where we look in real time at what our vacancies are. Once we report that to the state, then we get an idea of where we stand with the rest of the state in terms of vacancies. And we'll talk about that and how we compare with the rest of the state, how we compare with the region in terms of vacancies. But together, those metrics give us a full picture of our workforce stability, both our losses and our hiring gaps. So if you look at our exit trends, you'll find that MCPS is doing quite well. We are actually reducing the number of exits among all of our populations, among all of our categories over the past few years. We've seen a steady decline in the total number of exits from 284 down to 230 in over 2 years. The current year, and I do want to note, the current year only runs through March, so it is not comparable to the other years, and it's very difficult since it is a moving target at this particular time because we are currently receiving an active number of retirements and resignations for the conclusion of the year. It's very difficult to gauge exactly accurately what that looks like. But you can see by the slope, when we say retirements, we're talking about those teachers that are exiting as a result of retiring. When you look at others, you're looking at a variety of reasons why an employee would exit. I do want you to note that the exit percentage is based upon the number of budgeted employees that we have through each year. So you'll see that our percentage of exiting employees has decreased from 16.6% all the way down to 13%. So when we look at exit rates, they've steadily declined. The trend shows improving workforce stability, especially since the pandemic. I think during the pandemic, across the state and across the nation, there was an instability in both attracting employees, educators, and retaining those employees. And we see that that number is actually lowering and stabilizing to pre-pandemic levels. These are job category trends. This is where we've taken the number of exits by teachers, paraprofessional aides, support services, transportation, administration, professional support. And these are just a breakdown of the number of exits by category. Now, when we say professional support, we're talking about individuals such as school counselors, school psychologists, social workers, speech language pathologists, audiologists, reading specialists, etc. So if you look at the exiting trend, you'll see that we are decreasing in the area of teacher exits. We are improving in the area of paraprofessionals, and our support staff is beginning to stabilize as well. So we are seeing a downward trend in the number of employees that are exiting across all categories. One thing that I want to note is when we look at the total number of teachers and the number of exits specifically, in 2024-25, we were about 8%. That's comparable with the national average and state average. It's actually below when you look at other comparable turnover measures. And I'll compare it like this. In the state, research would look at those individuals that are only exiting the profession. We consider exits being individuals that not only are exiting profession, but maybe going to other school divisions to work. And the state wouldn't do that. The national trends would not do that. These are our demographic trends, and one of the things that I'm going to note about the demographic
trends is just how important it is to know the total number of employees in each one of those demographic areas. And I think that's something that we need to come back to the board with at the end of the school year. I think we need to revisit this as soon as this year is over with to see how we compared with the past few years, but we also need to have some kind of idea of the total number of employees. So exactly what percentage of white employees, black employees, Hispanic employees are actually exiting. That's important than just looking at the numbers. So when we look at reasons, we don't have the reasons for an employee exit unless they provide us with those reasons. We have an exit survey, we have a resignation retirement form where they identify the reasons that they're leaving. We also have exit surveys, but something that we can improve upon certainly and that's one of the recommendations that you'll see at the end of the presentation, is not only soliciting from employees why they're leaving, but also taking that data and putting it in a way, organizing it in a way that provides the board with information on how we can drill down and improve employee retention by addressing those reasons that they're leaving. Many of the reasons that's listed here with certified staff and classified staff are also validated by the JLARC report, the RAND report, the Virginia Department of Education reports on exits, and MCPS data. All say the same thing. Sometimes it's supervisory workload issues, particularly with special education teachers. Sometimes it's just a matter of employees leaving for another school division, relocating. We see a lot of relocations when we look at our exiting data. You know, teachers moving to other areas and locales for one reason or another. And classified, as you all know, one of the things that we've worked on is pay and pay schedules and such for classified employees. And we've seen that particular area trending downwards in terms of exits. So that focusing on pay and certainly benefits has been helpful there. The experience effect, particularly when we look at teacher retention, why does it matter? Because we invest a lot of money in our teachers that are coming in, onboarding our teachers who are coming into the classroom, providing them with real-time important professional development and onboarding. And you also see, and this is according to research, that teacher effectiveness rises sharply in the first 5 years. And that's very true, that a first-year teacher comes in and they're learning in real time, whereas after 5 years, they have a system in place and they have a system down pat, and our students benefit from that. Retention during this period is critical to building instructional expertise. Now, I can tell you there was a study in 2003 that said about 40% of teachers leave in the first 5 years. That hasn't changed. It was Jim Hunt, Governor Jim Hunt from North Carolina, that's overseeing that commission. That data has not changed. We still have the same number of teachers leaving the profession nationally. What's changed is, he described it as having holes in the bucket. What's changed is what we have going into the bucket has been limited somewhat. So we still have the same number, we still have the same issues as far as retention goes nationally as we did in 2003. So when you look at the impact on students, there is a direct correlation between teacher retention and student achievement. And I think that's important to note, and that's important. When we look at retention and we look at attracting employees, it really tells you a lot about the temperature and the culture of our school division. The financial cost of turnover between $11,000 and $24,000 is what's estimated, depending on the district size. That includes recruitment, hiring, attracting teachers, the amount of money that we put into attracting teachers and onboarding teachers. Onboarding and training is an important part because the number of hours that's invested in bringing a teacher on board and then working with that teacher over a 5-year period. These are our vacancy rates, and one of the things I want to note from the vacancy rates that's important is that our vacancy rates when it comes to teachers traditionally over the past few years has been lower than the state and region. And I think that's something that's commendable, is we are having a less difficult time filling vacancies than our counterparts in the region and the state. And I think that's important to note. One of the other things that I think is indicative of the work that we've all done over the past few years is we have a significantly lower vacancy rates for paras this year, 3.5%. Last year, it was 16% at the start of the school year. So we are doing a better job filling those positions and trying to reach out earlier in order to hire paraprofessionals so that we have them in place and ready to start school when the school year begins. So why would you have low vacancy rates? Effective and timely recruiting processes, getting yourself out there, getting yourself known, highlighting the features of your school division, what's available, what do we have. One of the things, and I'll show you on the right, is understanding our benefits option. And a lot of times we'll use that very document to sell Montgomery County Public Schools because they could use that to compare our benefit options with the other school divisions. And a lot of times we're going to come out ahead on that. So that's important. That's an important tool for us to use. Competitive salary benefits and local appeal. And finally, access to qualified candidate pipelines. And we have Radford University here, we have Virginia Tech, and we have a lot of other schools that we are adjacent to that can provide us with quality teaching candidates. So that's very important. So these are some of the conclusions, and I do want to highlight in terms of conclusions, I do want to highlight that last one, because one of the things that we've discovered over the past year is we have a lot of teachers returning to Montgomery County Public Schools. Once they leave, they go to another school division, then they come back. And 18 out of 131 new teachers last year, 14%, were former MCPS teachers who returned back to work in the division. And that's one of those, the old saying, the old song, don't know what you got until it's gone. And so they are coming back, and we do have 14% that are returning back, and certainly that's a positive for us. Teacher exits are declining steadily. We are stabilizing, particularly post-pandemic. And although there's no significant or consistent increases in exits among minority group, we need to drill down and provide some percentages and really look at why individual categories of employees are leaving. So these are some of our recommended actions. First of all, targeted retention strategies is one. And drilling down, like I told you just a few moments ago, finding out why people are leaving, soliciting that feedback from employees who are exiting on why they're leaving, and being able to categorize that in a way that we can drill down and we can start having conversations about how we improve our practices. Minority equity trends, it's important that we look at who is leaving, not just total number. We want to know what percentage is leaving. We plan to work with the Department of Equity to understand these patterns better across the different groups, make sure our retention efforts are fair and supportive for all employees, and finally, review this information regularly to make informed decisions. So we're going to sit down with the Department of Equity and come up with a plan of action of how we address not only attracting minority employees, but also retaining those employees. And finally, continuing our teacher initiatives. Teacher exits are stable or declining. Our current strategies are working, but there are more that we can do to maintain not only consistency, but to build on our current success. So I want to share some final thoughts, and I just want to draw your attention to the second bullet point. Further analysis of current year workforce, including a breakdown of total employees by job categories and race, will provide a deeper understanding of workforce percentages and better inform staffing and equity-focused decision-making. And I think that's very important that we drill down in those areas. So we're being more specific about why people are leaving, which category are we seeing the most exits from, and how we can better address those categories and areas. So at this time, I'll see if the board has any questions.
Tom, if I could I want to clarify something real quick too. what Tom has put together here is really about exit surveys and reasons why people have left, right? And I tried to kind of summarize a little bit about why people or why our retention has improved. We have a current survey that's out that is going to give us some stay information. So you didn't hear stuff about climate, about things like the CVA. You didn't hear that stuff yet because no one's stating on their exit survey that they left because of those things, right? But when we report to you all in the next board meeting, you'll see a lot of information about why people are staying in Montgomery County Public Schools. And so stay tuned for that. This was just really based on, why people have exited and the research that Tom has done and put that information together for you. So it's a little bit of a precursor for your next presentation, which will be on the 21st, which will include all kinds of things about, why people prefer to be in Montgomery County.
I agree. And this information provides us with a great baseline for future information that we can provide to the board. So it was very helpful to kind of dig back and look at those exits over the past few years and see our growth improvement, but also see areas where we can improve.
Board members, other questions? Go ahead.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I wanted to ask, I think it's great to see the downward trend with the vacancy in a number of areas, but I do want to drill down just a little bit under support services. Who again falls under support services?
Is that professional services?
I'm looking on the, if you want to go back to the slide, job category trends. I think maybe back one more. Yeah, if you go back one more slide. Yeah. Oop.
It is, okay.
Right there.
Okay, under support services, you're talking about, this is your classified employees, this is your operations. When we talk about support, it's not student support services, but it's support services in terms of your custodial staff, your operations employees, such as your grounds, HVAC employees, et cetera.
Okay, and one of the things that would be helpful for me to know is the relative exit trends. So, like how many employees do we have in these two categories, teachers versus support services? Because I'm only seeing 80 for teachers, but I'm seeing 44 support. But if that 44 could be a much more significant percentage depending on the overall number of employees. So do you have a rough idea? And I'm sorry, I'm asking you off the top of your head.
Well, that's one of the things. I know we have, I think we estimated that we have approximately 945 teachers that make up the current year of employees, but don't quote me on that exact number. But I was able to get that to come up with the 8%. But one of the things that we need to do a better job of is, determining exactly each year what percentage, what the total number of employees in each category are. And we did not have that on this spreadsheet. So, but that's one of the things that we do plan on doing is breaking down not only by categories the number of employees, but also by diversity as well.
Now, if I understood correctly, the reason you're using the vacancy rate as a comparison with the region in the state is that that data is not being collected for exit, so you can't make a comparison of MCPS to either the region or the state. Is that correct?
We can look at research and do that, but sometimes it's like comparing apples and oranges because you have it depends on how what the research includes, because sometimes it just means exiting from the teaching profession altogether.
Right.
The state focuses on vacancy rates as opposed to exit rates. So that's why we chose to put vacancy rates in there. But, one of the things I noticed, and we can, certainly, go back, I think they started using vacancy rates around 2022, 2021. Mm-hmm. We can go back that far and actually look at where we trend. But I could tell you just by looking at various years, our vacancy rates have always been lower than the state and region.
Okay, because when I'm looking at the support services, the trend is not downward in that category. So on the teacher side, that's a significant drop. Is there a target that the division, that you have for what you want to see as a vacancy rate? Or, maybe it's just like zero, but.
0.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, 0.0.
And I'm glad to hear that we're going to get some more data on why people are staying. One of the things that I was interested in is, for 25, 26, the numbers, it's not terribly helpful because a lot of these decisions aren't going to come until contract period. So do you have any idea of where this falls in line with where we would have been last year at this time or the year before?
We were unable, and we actually discussed that today, and we're unable to come up with that information right now.
Yeah.
But we do plan on, at the conclusion of this school year, really, looking at bringing this back to the board with some, comparable information on how we're doing this year compared to past years with regards to exits. And we're also hoping to have the total numbers as well in there so you could see actual percentages.
Great, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I ask is that there have been questions about the step reduction. I know that there wasn't universal support on our side. It came up with the Board of Supervisors. And so to know the effect of that reduction in real terms and retention would be incredibly helpful, particularly as we're liaising with the Board of Supervisors to show why it's important that we made that. There was a significant financial commitment. And also, as we're talking about budgets and what's possible, I'm curious to know about benefits, if that factors in, because I know MCA has come up repeatedly and said that if you reduce those benefits, you're going to be taking away any increase that we get to salaries. So I'll be curious, I'm going to be very curious to find out what those surveys reveal and why people stay. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Ms. Parton? Ms. Bond? Ms. Franklin?
Yes, so I was glad to hear you say that knowing the total number of employees in our employee groups is crucial to understanding the information, because I would, at this point, caution us into saying that we're looking pretty good as far as minority retention, because we don't know that yet until we see those whole numbers. Because just looking at the figures that you gave us from slide, I think 7, with our African-American employees, that's like 56 employees. And if you only have 100, that doesn't show very well. So I would caution that we're doing okay there. Yeah. But thanks for the information. It's very good to see, and I can't wait to see the reason why folks are staying with us, because I have a pretty good idea of where some of that's at that will help maybe.
Thank you.
Mr. Roberts? Dr. Roundtree?
Yeah, just to look forward to the deeper dive in the demographic information with the number of people in each of the categories, as well as the category of worker that we have. I'd just like to give a little credit to you and Dr. Widener for the activities and recruiting and keeping our numbers up here and improving them over the last 3 years, as you're showing. But to Miss Penny or Miss Franklin's point, the demographics for minority groups are questionable at this point.
Certainly.
Possibly having them going up with vacancies. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your work, Dr. Brewster.
Okay. Thank you all.
I think we're done. Okay, apologies for skipping ahead before, now we are moving on to board policies, update and review. It's a first read. MCPS policies from Section 1 bylaws in the MCPS policy manual are presented tonight for the board's review and as a first read. Leah Bressler, our school division compliance officer, is available for questions if needed.
Good evening, Chair Purcell, Board, Dr. Gimple. I'm here tonight to present Section 1, which is your bylaws. And it's an update of the manual, so it was for your review to look at. The only suggested change we have is going to be Policy 1-5.1, and that's simply to remove a citation to a statute that no longer applies. If you have any questions, I'm available. It is a first read, so any suggestions or comments, I'm certainly happy to take those down for you.
Yeah, quick question. Thank you so much for the review. So I know that one of the questions that I had before was the schedule for review of policies. So I see that, for instance, on 152, it says at least every 5 years revised as needed. Is there a document where you're keeping track of when things have been revised and when they need to be revised again? So, because look at this, it says every 5 years, but I don't know when it was passed, when it was last revised and when it needs to be revised again.
So
I'm
let me
unaware
jump
of that.
in. So that's why I put add reviewed April 2026. We've built a record that we put right into it.
But, okay, so
So if we
your,
go to,
wait, so,
What we can do, I am unaware of the type of chart you're asking about, and I looked for that, sir, because that would have helped me with what we're looking at. But what Mr. Roberts has pointed out is that by putting that review date there, it'll be really easy for us to create a spreadsheet that'll keep track of when we reviewed the policy so that we can kind of keep an eye when that 5-year expiration's coming up, that we're going to have to do this again.
right. Part of the reason I asked that question is that the process of updating, there's a process for the update on how that's supposed to take place. So you can't just say, oh, you can't just stamp a date on all of the policies and say, oh, these were all reviewed, because some policies, state code requires of us to go through a certain process. So that's one of the reasons why it's helpful to know the last time it was reviewed, to know within the 5 years, okay, so in 2027, that's when we need to engage in that process. So that's why I asked that question.
if we get into the habit of regularly reviewing them, we don't have to do it all in one go, but let's say we do one every other month, then effectively we're well within the 5-year period that we're obligated to review them. And just saying, as a board, we read them on this date. We have all agreed that these are appropriate, they are up to date. I believe we've satisfied that.
Well, like as I said, some of them, there's a prescribed process for how they're revised, like who needs to be involved in the revision. And that's one of the things that comes to mind. And there's another, I'm trying to remember which one it is, that there's a certain time of year, the annual, but don't quote me on that. So I just have a sense that it might require a little bit more refinement than just saying, we've looked at all of them, this is the day we did it, we're good to go. That having a little bit more information would be helpful.
We get to that point, we cross that bridge. But for this one, this is as easy as can be.
Yeah, I think in this particular, the ones for the bylaws.
Bylaws, I mean, that's as simple as we can get.
Dr. Guthrie, and I hear exactly what you're saying. And I think the goal is to build that kind of as we go. So Mr. Roberts went through this first section. We're going to, as soon as you guys approve this, we're going to attack the second section. We'll pull those kinds of items out and make sure that we're following those things as prescribed going forward. Right now, it's such a large project to go through the entire policy manual to pull those things out. We figured it'd be better off just going section by section and trying to get us to the point where this is a manageable beast, which right now it's not.
But your point is well
Yeah,
taken, and so
gotta
when
have
I
an order.
create the spreadsheet to kind of track what we're doing, that section that you're asking about, so does the policy have itself a specific provision about renewal and looking at? So we can create that section so that while we're doing this, with Mr. Roberts starting with section 1, it's great, because we're going to create that document, we can just create it as we go. And so
Yeah.
as soon as we hit the first policy that has a provision like that you're concerned
Yeah.
about, that'll be our first one that we'll have something in that particular part of the spreadsheet for. So I can work on
Great,
creating
because I think
that.
it's one with the school security that I'm thinking of that might have that. So that was not my concern, but something I'd asked for, I thought would be helpful.
I think that's a great idea, and I'll make sure I incorporate that into the spreadsheet that we keep for tracking.
And who's involved in the revisioning of the policies?
Comment on
I-
that. So as we go through these, and we talked about this a little bit during our board retreat, as we encounter those policies that impact whoever, right, down to students even. Certainly teachers, certainly administrators at the school level, and folks in central office. We would send that down through our director here to collect information, to get advisement on those policies, and then bring them back up. So some policies take a little bit longer to revise because it takes more input, where others like these impact just you guys. And so you really could forego the second reading if you so chose, because it's so simple. So to answer your question, it depends on the policy, and it depends on who's most impacted. We want to get input from folks that are most impacted by those policies to make sure it's meeting the needs of our students, staff, and administrators.
Great. And then one final question, then I'll move on. So I haven't really asked this before, but one of the things I do know is that we have a policy about policy amendments. And if we're going to revise policy, it seems that we should follow that, our board policy about amending. I don't know if anybody has looked at that. I've looked in the past, I was like, I don't think we're doing that. But I think that as we're making more significant policy changes, so in that policy, it is 154, there's a whole paragraph on how that process is supposed to take place. So that would involve like sharing a month in advance the possible revisions before it's going to be on the schedule, to allow for that input even before that first reading. So I would encourage you to take a look. It's 154. There's a paragraph about amending policies.
Ms. Franklin? I'll save you for last, Mr. Roberts. Dr. Roundtree?
I'm good with these. Thanks.
Mr. Roberts, any other comments, since this is a passion project?
It's got to get done.
It does. I think this intention was to find some low-hanging fruit that was kind of easy to review, because we've known for more than a year that we really need to do a policy review. I know other divisions sometimes create a calendar that the board would approve, so that we know far in advance what's coming. I don't know how much of a bear that might be for the division to kind of identify, because there may be things on there that we wouldn't get to until summer 2027, right? It's just going to be a very long process. I had one suggestion, kind of based of an addition to the bylaws, or maybe it doesn't belong here, so I'll just float it. We spent a lot of time during our retreat talking about how to handle complaints, kind of the right way to direct students, parents, caregivers, community members to address concerns and problems, but we don't have a policy codifying that. And sometimes the practice becomes murky, problematic, the wrong people getting involved at the wrong time. And I was wondering if it might make sense to add a policy about dealing with complaints and making that information a little more clear for our community to this part of the manual, or maybe it belongs somewhere else. It seems like it could potentially fit here. It could be cross-referenced multiple other places.
I think that would be helpful because, people tend to go to sort of the highest level sometimes, right? Just thinking that's going to get the fastest resolution, but it's just often not the case, right? And we end up redirecting back down to the base level, right? And having them work up. And in almost all cases, they achieve resolution at one of the steps, right? Where sort of it's just sort of being delayed by either coming to a school board member or coming to a superintendent or someone in central office, where often the incident took place at the school level or on the bus, and it can be resolved very quickly with that teacher or with the assistant principal, and I mean positive resolution where the parent is heard and kind of puts the situation to rest and it's addressed appropriately. So having a policy like that and posting it on the website, I think would be very helpful to our constituents.
I agree.
So there is language, we do have policy, I mean, it could be refined, but 116, there's language in there about procedures for communicating to the superintendent. It's item number 7. So there's a policy that could be refined if it needs to address those concerns.
So then what would a good action step be? Would it make sense for the division maybe to create a second draft?
We could do that.
Adding that to perhaps
At your pleasure,
that.
we could certainly create a second draft and come back to you with any addition of the policy that addressed how the board would address a complaint that comes directly to them, so that maybe a remand procedure or how you're going to handle that. And we can also take a look at that policy 16 to see if that's something that we could modify. Sure.
Thank you so much. Board members, other questions or concerns? Mr. Roberts, thank you so much for taking this on. Ms. Bressler, Dr. Gimple, I know it's a real bear, but I think we'll all be better off for doing it. So thank you.
And Mr. Roberts is kind of like a tornado coming in. He wants to get it done, and he puts us right to work. He does a great job of kind of helping us get organized and just knocking it out. So, and Lee is fantastic to work with also. So they're a great team also.
More?
There aren't any other questions?
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, moving on to proposed revisions to the Student Code of Conduct. This is a second read. The administration provides a draft of updates to MCPS Policy 7-3.1, Code of Student Conduct, as suggested by the board, with revisions from the first read. Jason Garrettson, Director of Student Services and Safety, is available for questions as needed.
Good evening.
Hi, Mr. Garrettson. Any overview that you wanted to provide, or should we just get to questions?
I just kind of sat in the back during the last discussion and kind of wondered what is the opposite of low-hanging fruit, and that's maybe where I'm at with this one. I do share the second draft. The original edits are in red, and then based on the discussion from the last board meeting from board members, have tried to incorporate your thoughts and sentiments in the highlighted areas. Those are the changes we bring forward tonight, essentially based on the last discussion before the board at your previous meeting.
Board members, does anyone want to start with questions? We also have a second document in board docs that just provides some comparison of phrasing, both from the VSBA as well as other divisions throughout the Commonwealth, and some verbiage from the Code of Virginia.
Okay, so I had concerns about the definition of distribution and looking at the VSBA model policy and where it adds the word sell or gives or distributes any controlled substance. I would recommend that that be in place of what the definition or the language that we have now. And then on page 23, let me bring it back up. Basically where it has the language to strike, written documentation going to, pull it back up here. There's that. One more page. The student or his or her parent, guardian will receive written notification of the hearing officer's proposed action, the reason for the action, and the right of a hearing before the board. It's my belief, and I've raised this before, anytime that there's action being taken against a student, that the parent or the guardian needs to receive the packet of information, the same packet that the board gets. And unless I'm reading this incorrectly, this is saying that's not going to happen.
I don't think that was our intention, Ms. Franklin. I know that the board very much wants families to receive copies of the packet. I think that was struck just in terms of the point, going back to the previous page on 22, where they begin to talk about the hearing panel.
Right.
I don't think, it was not at least my intention or my understanding that the board wanted us to no longer share copies of the packet with families.
Okay, so.
Perhaps it's not clear.
Right, because to me, this reads that that won't happen.
Can I respond to Ms. Franklin? So I took note of that as well. I think it's if I'm understanding correctly, it's a little different than just receiving the packet. And I think that one of the reasons it's in there is because it's correct me if I'm wrong, part of state code, that if the proposed action is for a long-term suspension or possible expulsion, it has to be in writing, that proposed action. Am I correct on that? So I think that it's not just a personal preference, but I think if it needs to, and that's the reason it was probably in that policy, is to be compliant. Is that your understanding? Is that what your understanding is, Ms. Franklin? Yeah.
That should be happening, yes.
I suppose since should I continue? So thank you for the changes. Somehow I was a little confused. So it seems that when it comes to medication, on the bottom of 23, the language was, part of the language was removed there, and that a new paragraph was written above, so it's split. Is there any reason for splitting that part of the policy? Because I could see, at least just, for me, it was a little confusing. So administration, so at the top of 22,
yes, sir.
There's new language about administration, storage of prescription and over the counter. So you go there, and then there's another section dealing with medication toward the end where the original language is. I was like, that, for me, that's a little confusing of why you'd separate the two.
We had struck the item on 23 in the first read, and I think questions were raised about the prescription drug policy, which also has its own policy, 7-5.2. We brought that back at the top of page 22, just under the general heading of alcohol and other drugs. So, I mean, certainly, I think that was the thinking about where we placed it. It was an attempt to respect the board's request to include that reference to the other policy, and we did add the exact quote from the policy that seemed most relevant when we are having a general discussion in the code of conduct about alcohol and drugs.
Yeah, I would consolidate that into one paragraph so it flows a little more consistently. So there was a sentence, I got a little confused with following the initial, bottom of 22, following the initial school investigation, if there is no exchange of contraband for something of value or no indication of advanced planning to share the contraband with other students, the division hearing officer is authorized. For me, I was like, let me see if I can follow this. And if you could streamline that language, I think that would be helpful for people reading it, because it's not quite clear. I had to read it several times. Like, I think I know what it's trying to say there. The other thing I was going to say, and then I'll yield, is it seems that with distribution that we would be out of line with a number of other divisions by having distribution just be for exchange of value. Is that?
I was asked to visit some other divisions' policies to see how they attempted to wrestle with the understanding of distribution. A couple divisions specifically were named, Loudoun, Prince William, and Fairfax. When we visited those policies, none of them seemed to provide a specific, clear definition for the term. They just talk about distribution. So when we just jump over to a neighbor, Pulaski, Pulaski did seem to define it on the second page of the second document that was provided to the board. At the top of page 2, they do define distribution as passing, giving, or selling alcoholic beverages, etc. It seems more in line with our prior definition that if one person, a student, provides it to another student, they seem to consider that distribution, which is where MCPS has been, at least for the last several years. And part of the discussion that brought the policy forward before the board again was a discussion around trying to hone in or provide a more clear, concise definition for distribution that did include an exchange of some sort of value. From the last discussion at the last board meeting, I don't mean to be presumptive, but it seems like there were some differences of opinion across the group, and I think that is where you get the attempt on page 22 to talk about if there is no exchange for said contraband, or really no attempt for any kind of like prior planning. Like if I'm a student who has access to perhaps alcohol, and some of my buddies and I have a discussion and I say, yes, I'll bring it to school, like it's kind of a planned, put together, thought out process for me to share versus I just show up with it. That was our best attempt on page 22 to try to bridge the gap between some differences of opinions.
And I appreciate that. I think my position now is, having seen the other policies and the thorny issue of defining and limiting just to exchange of value, is to keep distribution. But for me, where I'd feel more comfortable, because what brought this out was a need to, or a desire to, reduce the number of hearings we're having for distribution. On bottom of 21, it says subsequent violations involving alcohol, tobacco. Is it, I'm not able to read this right now, but if there is distribution, does the policy say that it automatically leads to a hearing before the school board?
Current policy would would say that.
With the revised policy?
With our revised policy, it gives some opportunity. Again, it's that attempt at the school level to do some investigation and say, this doesn't appear, and I hate to talk in such simple terms, but this doesn't appear to be a person who's a drug dealer or trying to, like in those cases, I think the expectation is that would come before the board. That would be heard by the board. The thought here is that based upon the investigation, if it is essentially just a matter of, I have something at school I shouldn't have, a buddy knows it, finds out, I offer it, or he asks me for some of it, that it allows your superintendent and their designee, and here we talk about a panel, because I think there was some expression last time that some board members didn't want that to be a single person. They wanted a group to be making those decisions, that panel could then intervene and could hear that situation and make a determination up to long-term suspension, and as you said, save the board from some of those meetings and some of those hearings. If that panel determined, hey, this is something we really feel like probably should be a recommendation for expulsion, then it would go ahead and be forwarded on to the board. But again, a lot of it talks about that investigative piece, and I think we do have some situations where if I'm the student, I show up at school with something I shouldn't have, and I essentially have shared it with some friends who have willingly taken it. We didn't really plan it, but once they know I have it, they want some too, and it's more of a situation among friends rather than I am coming to school on with a purpose of selling or distributing an inappropriate item.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, when it comes to the definition, I think that we shouldn't use just something of value, because what you've described is broader than that, and it could lead to some confusion. So I think adopting something like the VSBA or that broader definition allows for that adjudication. Thank you.
I have a question. If hypothetically a teacher at one of the MCPS high schools knew of a student who had one of those illegal substances, such as maybe alcohol, but decided not to report it because they don't want to ruin their future, could there be repercussion on that teacher if a student has came forward to them? Like, say the student brought it on a school trip and handed it out.
If I understand your question correctly, I think I would probably say, as far as repercussions for a teacher not reporting that, that's probably a better question for someone in our HR department rather than me. What I will say is I do believe our expectation, let me change that. I strongly understand that our expectation is that adults who are aware of possession of alcohol or other illegal contraband items with minors are required to report it. If you read the first several pages of the document that we're talking about today, there are no changes in that area, but it talks about responsibilities. And one of the responsibilities, and I'm paraphrasing, one of the responsibilities for adults on our staff is to ensure the code of conduct is adhered to and followed. So I would say that it's an expectation. If I'm a staff member with knowledge, I have an obligation to report it and carry through with the code of conduct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Parton, did you have any?
I know this has been an ongoing thing, and we have differences, and I do want to agree with Ms. Franklin and Dr. Guitry. The concept of value, and I'm thinking about at the age we're talking about. So what does value mean? So to value to a teenager might be, hey, if you give me that, I'll be your buddy, or I'll be your friend, or I'll help you on a test, or I'll do your homework. So maybe adding some verbiage in there to possibly clarify, maybe something even in parentheses, just that it could be, with the exception of any, other than money, because I know distribution is more seen as an exchange. Usually it deals with money, but just to kind of broaden the thought of value and what someone would consider, what is value to you when you're, when you're 15. It might be money, but it could also be, I'll be your friend if you, and they might take that friendship as being a valuable thing to them. So it's just a thought.
I understand.
Ms. Bond?
Well, for me, agreeing that that's important, I think the thing that, the issue for me was the fact that a student that would bring something and then distribute it, got them the two instances. And sometimes the person that would get what was distributed, we did not see. And I feel like because they didn't go through and get the second, that's the important piece to me. It's not so much whether they get money, whether they don't. It's the fact that you've got two kids. One might have said, hey, bring it. So the other one did. And then he gave it to him. But the one is the only one that comes before the board. That's where my issue's at. So I don't know how to fix that. Don't know where to begin to tell you what I would think to fix it. But we've, in many, many closed sessions with Student Matters, have said, well, how come we're not seeing this student? Well, how come that student's not here tonight? So that's the most important issue for me when it comes to drugs. I don't know that it needs to be, I mean, vaping tends to be more of a one student type thing, but when you're distributing drugs or alcohol, I mean, I guess in vaping we have had some handed off, but not so much sharing. And I just think if the other student's involved and they ask them to bring it, that's a second offense in my book, because they're setting up the opportunity for that first child to get that second offense as just distribution. Sorry, I can't talk. But am I making any kind of sense? Okay.
I understand. If I understand correctly, you're saying two students are involved, and it's typically only the
takes
one
the
who
heat.
brought it.
That's right.
Who is
That's
before
right.
the board. The other one is typically being addressed as a first offender, which is explained on page 21.
Right.
That person takes typically a lengthy suspension, but they do not go before the board.
That's right. And I think that frustrates parents. I think it frustrates students. I think it frustrates everybody because you've got one taking the heat when the other one isn't, and could have both very much been involved.
Thank you.
Dr. Roundtree?
Sure. So, I'm good with the definition of distribution as it's being described in the document with the edits. The Pulaski definition there does a reasonable job of what I would suggest if we wanted to have something that is distribution, means to pass, give, sell alcoholic beverages, imitation and or controlled substances. Then it says other substances, which, I mean, that's Coca-Cola. It doesn't make any sense. Inhalants, anabolic steroids, and drug paraphernalia. So as long as, if we wanted to put something in there, I'd be okay with that kind of statement minus the other substances, because again, that doesn't make any sense. We got to get rid of like over-the-counter ibuprofen falling into this type of category too. I mean, I do not want to see students for expulsion because they had ibuprofen at school. And when we get to handling that type of medication later on, I'd like to really get some input from community members and legal people. The fact that in order for a young woman or other person with a uterus that has cramps cannot have ibuprofen on their person in order to relieve those cramps, or if they give it to another person of the same ilk that is having those issues, that they come before us for an expulsion. Now, some people would be like, hey, they're not supposed to have those things on them. Okay, let's put the thing at the nurse's office. Cramps last 5 days. You got to get an ibuprofen twice a day. Twice a day, you got to announce that you're going to get an ibuprofen from the nurse's office. And you spend 5 minutes going to get it, 5 minutes coming back. That's 10, or 5 minutes going to get it once, 5 minutes going to get it a second time during the day. That's 10 minutes a day. That's almost an hour a week, once a month, that you're being removed from your educational environment to take an ibuprofen. I do not know. Maybe it's the law that we cannot have kids that are 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old with over-the-counter medication that they utilize on a regular basis. But at some point, we got to do something about that. And I do not want to see another kid for the equivalent of ibuprofen for an expulsion hearing. And we saw it. So parents, we saw that.
So I believe under 7-5.2, it talks about non-prescription medication and how that can be administered by the student, how the student can have it, unless I've read it incorrectly. All they have to do is bring the documentation and let the school system know and only have enough for a day.
Is that our current policy?
Unless I read 7-5.2, that's what it states.
It will be in 7-5.2. I don't want to try to recall it from memory.
When we get to it, we'll look over it. But I'll drop it for now.
But there is absolutely policy in place that allows older students to carry certain medications under certain guidelines. And then there is also guidelines in which over-the-counter medications can be stored in the clinic. To your point, Dr. Roundtree, where a student would then have to go, take time, take their medication, and go back to class. There are guidelines to that effect already in policy.
Are you done, Dr. Roundtree?
I was checking at some point. It looks like it's only those medications that are needed in a medical emergency that fall into that exception of self-administration. Okay, so 9th through 12th grade is able to, with permission, as you said. So our 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade students that fall into the category, which most of them do, or a lot of them do, are not included in that policy. So that needs to be revised. And passing an ibuprofen doesn't need to come before the board. And to my reference last meeting where I was out ill, the reference for aspirin was kids should not be taking aspirin because of there's no such thing as kids aspirin unless you have a heart condition that you need it for. But never mind. Don't worry about it.
Mr. Roberts.
Don't worry, I'm not going to go off on a rant. Anyway, we're making some progress here. Yes, it's moving forward. Give our employees some power let them exercise judgment. We're moving in the right direction.
You gonna,
Board members,
you
any
gonna make a
final
recommend? Oh, go ahead.
questions or concerns for Mr. Garrettson? Dr. Yitri?
I think my question is for the board. Have we found a consensus on the definition that he needs for distribution? And whether we want the broader definition or we want to just limit it to something of value in the document before us?
I move to accept the document as written and edited.
So, Mr. Roberts, I'm assuming that you want to stick with your definition.
You are correct.
You can second.
I will second.
Any discussion? I thought we had some other, so just to accept the document as written, and Mr. Garrettson will go forward with the suggested edits for tonight.
Did you
From
want just
tonight.
for exchange?
Should we do another revision?
Or do we want another reading?
I personally think with the confusion, we need another reading because I don't know what we even agreed to what I would vote for. I mean, we all took it to a different area and left the main part. So, you know, I don't even know what we decided.
The motion was as amended, or as updated to accept it. So, with no other changes. So if you had specific changes that just were a deal breaker for accepting it, then you would vote accordingly.
Right, with that I understand, but like I said, each one of us really didn't talk just on that. That was the deal breaker. We went to another section of it. And so, you know, are we adding more? Are we taking more away? Or are we changing what it said? Or I hear what you said, what the motion is, but the discussion around what everybody was thinking was different.
So what I got out of it, what we wrote, or what's been updated, is that we're empowering the administration to define what distribution is a little bit, that we're not saying that distribution is any handing of a controlled substance from one person to another. That it goes to the administration can look at it, make a decision. Was it in exchange for something of benefit? Is it a second offense? Those kinds of things would elevate it to us. But if it weren't that, then it wouldn't elevate to us. So we wouldn't see those types of actions.
Correct.
If it's some really hard narcotic, maybe that automatically elevates it.
But your argument to what is you said you didn't want to see anybody given ibuprofen, and part of that is over-the-counter medication as well, and that's still in there, correct?
The administration has the ability to review the case and provide discipline to it without bringing it to us.
You don't think that's a little bit of a gray area? Say, wonder if you're a mother of the child that received 4 ibuprofen of a 6th grader. The administrative might have listened and thought that it wasn't necessary, but the parent to that child that received 1 too many, 2 or 3 too many for that age was inappropriate. So how would you handle that situation? And for me, I can't support it because, like I said, for me, I want to see that second child that's involved brought at, if it's especially a narcotic, they need to come. If there's a distribution situation, it needs to involve both children. That's what I'm looking to see in there, more than whether they got money, whether they got a hug, whether they got a friendship, whatever. I want to see both students. And yes, I agree with you 100%. I understand having athletes and needing ibuprofen before games and having to jump through hoops and get them, or on field trips and they couldn't take those with them, but yet you could stop at the gas station on your way and get them. So it's I hear you, but I'm just saying I think need to make it pretty clear, not just a gray area to where somebody can read it and go, yeah, but.
So, I mean, there's always some gray area.
Sure.
So what we're saying is that we were empowering the administration to not long-term suspend with recommendation for expulsion students that have things that they can get at that an adult over 21 can get at the corner store, or that their parents have in their house that they got at the corner store, that they bring to school. The administration can handle that level of discipline and decide if it elevates to a level that it needs to be brought to us, not that it is automatically brought to us.
I guess my argument to that is I didn't read that in there.
That's the whole point of this, isn't it?
Well, I agree, but I don't know that am I overlooking that? I didn't see it spelled out like that.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, because the clock is ticking and there's a motion on the table. So if you disagree with how the policy is written, then you vote no. If you agree with how it is presented to us this evening, then you vote yes, and then we move on from there.
I don't think that's how discussion quite works, but I might be wrong.
Excuse me, that's what I added to the discussion, so that's how it works.
Okay.
I'll just add that I would like to see the policy move forward. I can't support it as it's written now because there are certain things that are not in it that are required to be in it, for instance, notification, and the fact that some of it's confusing to me. So I'd like to get to a yes, but if I'm forced to vote for it this evening, I'm a no.
Someone call the question.
Thank you, Ms. Franklin. Ms. Reed, would you please call a roll?
Ms. Bond?
No.
Ms. Franklin?
No.
Dr. Guitry?
No.
Ms. Pardon?
No.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
No.
5 in favor, 2 opposed.
So thank you, Mr. Garrettson. I think we'll need one more draft to go over. I think we're getting close, though. Thank you so much for your hard work.
I think that she just called it in reverse, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
2 in
Just for the
favor,
record.
5 opposed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Instructions. And those
Sorry,
instructions
motion
clear as
fails.
mud?
I will do my best. I think perhaps the challenge that I feel like I hear from this position is differing opinions across the board that I need to try to get in a policy that more of you can find agreeable. So I will certainly do my best. And you guys certainly are able to communicate with me, of course, through the superintendent, and I will bring you something back that is my next best attempt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrettson. Okay. Moving on to unfinished business. Are there any items of unfinished business? Okay. Hearing none. Moving on to new business. Are there any items of new business?
I'd like to return to a question I put before my fellow board members at the last meeting, and it didn't go anywhere. This, under new business, is the one opportunity where a board member can discuss with fellow board members whether to put something on new agenda, on a future agenda, or something for the board to work on. The matter that I brought up was on working on the discrepancy in pay, the pay bands. It was discussed during the Board of Supervisors meetings. It seemed to me that there was a consensus at that meeting to work on this, but I would like to hear from fellow board members if this is something that we'd like to discuss as a board. If now is not the time to consider a time in the future. I feel very strongly about this, that there should be equal pay for equal work, and it's not incumbent upon us to make that a priority. I thought from that meeting that it was a priority. I'm assuming that it still is, but I'd like to know when we might actually work on that.
Yes, I was kind of under the conclusion, and I may just be incorrect, but that we were planning to do it, and the thought was that we would let the school year complete with the current pay bands, and then they would bring it to us in the summer time, in maybe the 2nd June type meeting. But I don't know, was that the ballpark understanding? Okay.
Dr. Gimple, is there some movement on that? Because I know you've even mentioned just having staff members from both sides kind of work on that together.
Yeah, I think we can work on that in our liaison meetings as well, and try and get that set up formally. I think Dr. Guidry is looking for like a formal plan for that. I think we can work on that in our next liaison meeting and see if we can come up with a timeline and say, yeah, let's get that done.
And that's tomorrow, so.
That'd be great. I appreciate that.
Any other items of new business? Any announcements or information? Dr. Roundtree?
Yes, I'm sorry that I missed the Future Chefs program due to still being in quarantine from COVID. I think Ms. Purcell got to go, but I also wanted to highlight for at least a portion of us sitting up here, it's the first time that in our lifetimes that somebody has gone around the moon, and it's for everybody up here. It's the first time a woman, a black person, or a Canadian person has gone around the moon. So that's an amazing feat that hasn't occurred in over 50 years. I wasn't going to call anybody out. I'll appreciate when I'm there.
And Ms. Osborne witnessed the launch.
And fun fact, Michael Collins's papers are at Virginia Tech, if you ever wanted to look at them. He donated them there. Some other announcements. The Future Chefs competition is always a good time. I appreciate Dr. Dunleavy, Mr. Gwynn, principal of Christiansburg High School and First Lady of Christiansburg High School, all of us judging. It was a really great Friday evening. Falling Branch Elementary, 2nd year champion. So that was just extremely fun. I do believe that there may be another similar event in the works for high school students, for our culinary students, that might be later this year. So please keep your eyes open, and hopefully some dates will align for other board members to judge. Next Tuesday, I'll be going to the Region 6 VSBA meeting in Patrick County. Be able to shepherd some of our students' artworks for the competition there and just connect with some of our colleagues, so I'm extremely excited about that. And I also just wanted to thank Dr. Gimple for Dr. Gimple, Dr. Mitchell for putting together the reading program for National Library Week, which is somewhere around the week of April 19th. So I hope as many of you can fit it into your calendars, we'll come on out to our elementary schools and read to kids. Upcoming school board meetings, agenda prep is tomorrow after our leadership liaison meeting. And then we'll have our next work session on April 21st.
Can I say
Oh,
something?
please, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just waiting until you finished the announcements. I just wanted to apologize to Auburn High School for not going to the FFA or Future Farmers of America breakfast that they host every year. I usually go when I can. I lost my card, I guess, so that kind of goes into when we get as a board, a whole board, like invitations, is there some way we can get that on our calendar? Because I don't want to put more work on you, Tosh, but just like we got an invitation for a veterans dinner and, you know, emails get lost, cards get lost, and that's something that, you know, that has to do with our districts. That's important if, you know, if there's any way.
I can
Okay.
send you an invite for that.
Okay,
Sure.
great. Thank you so much.
All right. Dr. Gipple?
I just want to thank my staff also for being here tonight. Many of these people are in this building by 7 a.m. So, you know, thank you so much, guys, for hanging out and for being available and for doing a great job presenting tonight.
Okay. I adjourn this meeting at 10:24 p.m. Thank you, everyone.